about peace, love, and understanding. One of the lines from that song, searching for light in the darkness of insanity, I ask myself, if all hope is lost, is there only pain and hatred and misery? I say no. Thank you all for being here. I really, really appreciate you guys. We know that you have many, many choices to make every single morning, and we are always grateful that you choose to spend some time with us. Really, really appreciate that. Again, ways to support the channel. You know the drill. Tapping and clapping. Tapping is clapping. Sharing is caring. That's free. Please consider using your heart meme and your heart me and do that today. Also contribute to the gifting goal. Any and all activity helps. We know that we're getting suppressed, quite frankly, and I've heard recently that there's potentially going to be a profanity warning for lives. So like they're saying that you can't fucking swear as fucking much as I fucking like to on this fucking app, because I fucking think that people who fucking swear are some of the most fucking intelligent people there are. So I'm fucking not going to fucking comply. I will be maliciously fucking compliant when it comes to fucking swearing in this space. So fuck it. Okay? Yes, thank you. Again, you guys know the drill. Don't forget about the subscribing. I do want to address a couple things. We'll get to that in just a minute, but Linktree that's in my bio, you can get access to not only FactsStillMatter.site, also my pay apps are there. Please consider joining the Discord. Please consider subscribing. Hold on a second. I forgot to do this. I'm sorry, Sam. I got this covered. Do this right now. We have a team of people who help us to get up onto YouTube, and we are on YouTube. So thank you, friends, for being here. Okay. And then subscribe over there, all kinds of resources. Before we go too deep, happy May, by the way. It is Mental Health Awareness Month. We will be celebrating that and honoring it and referencing it all month long. The green ribbon is a symbol for mental health awareness. Thank you, guys. Thank you for the gifts. I appreciate y'all very, very much. Mental Health Awareness Month was established in 1949 to increase awareness of the importance of mental health and wellness in Americans' lives, and to celebrate recovery from mental illness. For more than 20 years, various organizations have been supporting this. Every May, we want to try to increase the awareness about the vital role mental health plays in our overall health and well-being, and provide resources and information to support individuals and communities who may need mental health support. There are quite a few things that you can do in regards to this. How about like humanizing the issue, for example? Listen to people's stories about their struggle with mental illness and realize that they're just human like us. Learn about mental illness, dig into the data, and discover that mental illness isn't a weakness of character, but a psychological disorder. And remember that everyone deserves respect, and judging others only perpetuates the discrimination and stigmas around it. We have this on our backgrounds every single day. The crisis line, you're not alone. We have an entire Are You Okay section in our Discord that is monitored by members of our team. Our friend Amy Dawn is in there a lot. We can even have voice chats if necessary, if you are in crisis. So remember, you're not alone. We all struggle from something related to our mental health, and we need to make sure that it's no longer stigmatized. And this is a shout out to all men out there, that your strength is acknowledging that you may not be able to get through something on your own. That is a strength. It is not a weakness. So thank you all very, very much. Okay. I want to address a few things. There's a lot of drama in the TikTok streets these days. Well, what is there not, right? So you guys may remember a few weeks back, I had mentioned that I was asked to participate in the Unfuck America tour down in Texas. I was honored. I was kind of excited about it. I kind of joined late, so I was likely not going to be able to participate in the Texas event, but I was thinking about it for other events. I joined, this was in advance of the trip to Texas. I joined a large creator call, and there was a lot of red flags that popped up, and I'm just like, I don't think this is really well organized. It seems like there's a lot going on here. And then I was in a creator group chat that was just blowing up with all kinds of stuff. And the creators that were involved in this are caring individuals who really truly want to make a difference. And I support that. Thank you very much. And I really support that. And I support the cause, and I think it's a really good thing, and I was honored to be part of it. Sadly, the intent of the mission was lost because of a lot of, just quite frankly, just a lot of bullshit. A lot of people were exposed. And I say that because one of the strengths, so I stepped away from Unfuck America, and I am not affiliated with it, never received a dime from it, stopped promoting the cause. I didn't even really talk about it. I let my team know, but I just kind of left. Just was like, yep, not for me. There's too much going on here. Little did I know what it would uncover. One of the strengths and beauties of apps like TikTok and other social spaces is it gives people a platform. That's the good. The same can be said for people who do not have good intentions. This space is filled with a lot of fraudsters and grifters. Let's be perfectly honest about what it is. There are people here in this space that are attempting and will use this platform to take advantage of people. And we see it every single day. There are people out here who claim to be something that they are certainly not. There are people here who are using this lure and attraction of a safe space, and they are not safe. I say it all the time. I'm not going to get into names. You guys can make your own. There's enough drama around it. You guys can make your own connections. I'm not going to name names specifically because I have been threatened by certain people in certain communities. So I'm just going to leave it alone. But like I said, there are people who are using their platform to flat out grift and are predatory, which is why I talk about all the time that I am not a safe space. I am not the arbiter for that. I am not up here saying that I am safe. I will leave it up to other people to make those decisions. Integrity is extremely important to me. Okay, I have raised money to the tune of probably over probably pushing $15,000 for people in our community, and I have every single receipt. This community has helped me in a couple of situations, and I have every single receipt for that. If you need to see it, just ask. Message me, and I'd be happy to share every credit card receipt, every bank statement, every money's in, every money's out. And I would encourage you that if you are drawn into a particular cause, or if you are in a position where you see a creator promoting something, just because you've come to trust this creator does not mean you should trust what their intentions are. Get to know people in this space is difficult because you have no idea. Most people didn't even know I was 6 feet tall, 6'2". Most people didn't even know that shit, right? You see what you see in this box every single day. I take what we do here incredibly seriously. Incredibly seriously. This is really important to me. It's become part of my life. And I take that responsibility seriously. A lot of people have told me that they start their day with us, and I take that seriously. And my team knows that, and my team's like, dude, you need to make sure that you're taking care of yourself as we speak about Mental Health Awareness Month. And I get that, and that's really good advice. But I let my integrity speak for itself. And if anybody has a question about my integrity and or what we do and how we support our community, then just ask. Then just ask. So it's a cautionary tale, friends. We develop trust and relationships with people in these spaces. And sadly, if there are people here who have bad intentions, that's what's going to happen, is that people are going to be taken advantage of. And the worst part to me are the people, and it's primarily men, people who claim to be safe spaces and or advocates for women and or marginalized communities are the ones that are most likely taking advantage of those marginalized communities. It's disgusting. It is despicable. And the people who are doing it should be ashamed of themselves. But they don't have shame. That's the worst part. They will lie, they will manipulate, they will use other people, they will victimize people, they will harm people, and then they will find a way to blame everyone else other than themselves. So, again, there's a responsibility that creators have, in my opinion. If you invest the time and then people either subscribe to you or follow you or support you, You have a responsibility. And I appreciate that. And I respect it and I honor it. And it does sound like Trump, doesn't it? Yeah. I respect it and I honor it and I take it very, very seriously. I will allow my integrity to speak for itself. And like I said, if you have any questions about any of the monies that we've raised, I have every single nickel of every single receipt. I've raised money for people publicly here, and I've done it privately, and those people know who they are. Again, if you have any questions about that, I will certainly let my integrity speak for itself. If that's what's required, then please just ask. Just keep your head in the game, so to speak, especially now, because people are looking for places where they can find trustworthy voices. Like I say it all the time, it's all men until it's no man, and it's a cesspool. This space and other spaces like it has the potential to be a cesspool, or is a cesspool for people who will intentionally try to take advantage of people. Will lie, will manipulate, and then will double down on their lies and will manipulate and then create these elaborate stories of how it's everybody else but themselves. It is malignant narcissist behavior, and we see it every day. Okay? So, cautionary tale, friends. Just keep your head in a swivel and just be careful who it is that you trust. Okay? Thank you for that. I appreciate it. All right. It's troubling. Okay. So today we're going to get into malicious compliance, right? So I think the sign's appropriate. Thank you, Gregory. My boss told me to change the sign, so I did. Right? It's an example of malicious compliance. Before we get too deep into that, I do think it's necessary that we kind of go back and pull out some additional highlights from the interview that the twice impeached, four-time indicted, sexually abusing fraudster, convicted felon did. Actually, before I do that, I want to address a couple of things before we do that. Next week, so a member of our community had reached out to me and were gracious, and they were incredibly kind, and they sent me some of their small business products. And I was humbled the fact that they did it. And this came from the fact that a few weeks back, before I got sick and before to California, I wanted to host a small business themed live, because we certainly know that the impact that small businesses are going to be feeling right now if they haven't felt it already. And I want to highlight that because as a small business owner, and I know many small business owners, I know that small businesses are the lifeblood of our country. No doubt about it. They always have been. So next Friday, we can mark your calendars. This is the first, my mods are hearing about this too. Next Friday, mark your calendars, not this week, but next, we will do a live that I wanted to do highlighting small businesses in America. So if you are listening, or if you know somebody that has a small business and you want to use this space Monday through Friday, 8 to noon, so next Friday, 8 to noon Eastern time, to promote your small business, to talk about, desires or business ideas that you've had or whatever that might be, next Friday is your day. Okay? So I want to offer that up to everybody, and we'll just have a conversation about, the importance of small businesses, what these small businesses do, and how you do it, and want to give everybody a chance to promote their cause. And if people are hearing this, I'll announce it every single day. And if you have a website for your small business, I would be happy and honored to put it in our link tree so people can get access to it. Because if we can help small businesses, especially right now, then that is what we'll do. Okay, so next Friday, we'll be doing that. Next Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern time, so it might be a double up day. I've been wanting to host this live, and I think it's very topical right now. The subject will be, it's all white people until it's no white people. And there are some amazing Black creators that I've been able to become friends with in this space that will be joining me that night for that conversation. It's going to be a difficult conversation for sure, but one that people need to hear. So that'll be next Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Still putting some pieces together, but we'll be doing that next week. So yes, so programming note, okay? Today is Thursday, May 1st. Happy May. It's May Day. So we've got, it's finally like, okay, I'm going to bitch for a second because I can. It was 81 degrees on Tuesday, and it was 48 yesterday. So I'm like, do I put the shorts on? Do I take the shorts off? Because my legs are a particular shade of white at the moment. It's like they're so white that they're almost like opaque. So anyway, but thank you guys again for being here. Thank you for letting me kind of, riff a bit this morning. Okay, here we go. So malicious compliance. But before we do that, I just want to again remind people that it is Mental Health Awareness Month. Please continue to take care of yourself. The Suicide Crisis Lifeline is above us, 988. There's also 211 is another resource. You're not alone. If you need anybody, good morning. If you need any help with if you're struggling. At the moment, I am not a licensed professional and or therapist, but I've been told I'm a pretty good listener. If you need somebody to talk to, message me. You can contact, you can join our Discord. There's an entire mental health resources section in our Discord. We have the Are You OK channel. We'll start doing Are You OKs again. The reason people have asked, the reason that I kind of had to step away from the Are You OKs on a regular basis is it just became a lot of mental, it became a lot for me to have to carry that, to be honest. And I was trying to look out for my own mental health, and I was encouraged that it's great that you're doing this and creating this environment, but I just couldn't do it every week. We'll start doing it again. We always have these sort of, I guess you could call them paths from the lives that we do that always references the importance of mental health and taking care of yourself. And we'll continue to do that. So be on the lookout for more. Okay, so thank you for that. So I want to kind of get back to the interview because there was some more. Exactly. Thank you, Shay. That's my reminder as well. Can't pour from an empty cup. Exactly right. So there's so much more from that interview. We covered off a few things yesterday. We covered off on tariffs. We covered off on Pete Hegseth. We covered off on the whole craziness regarding MS-13 and the fact that our twice impeached, four-time indicted, sexually abusing fraudster, convicted felon, idiot president seems to think that the MS-13 were actual tattoos on Mr. Garcia's knuckles, and we know that's not to be the case. So there's a little bit more. So I thought I would just play some more sound for you guys. Everybody, please keep tapping and sharing. Please don't forget about subscribing. We're still marching towards a subscription. Our subscription target on Facts HQ is 150. I think we're 22 away at the moment. So if you'd like to subscribe, never expected, always appreciated. Thank you very much. So let's listen to a little bit more of this sound, and then we can talk about it. There's an ad playing. You don't need to hear an ad for Dairy Queen because it'll make me hungry. Do you have Dairy Queen wherever you are? Or is that just an East Coast thing? I think it's just an East Coast thing. No, DQ's national, right? Yeah. We're going to talk about some legislation that was passed by the Republican House last night, where they basically denied a referendum introduced by Democrats that would not allow the president to deport American citizens. So there's that. That's nice. Okay, hold on. Here we go.
Okay, let's move on to immigration. And as you said, it is an undeniable fact that illegal crossings at the southern border have plummeted, a staggering decline. But there are questions about your methods. And so I want to ask
about my message?
Methods, about your methods, how you're accomplishing
this. They seem to work.
Do you acknowledge that under our law, every single person who gets deported gets a hearing first to make their case?
It's really important, friends, if you haven't heard this, to listen to these answers, okay?
Well, are we talking about people that are citizens of our country or not?
No, you aren't deporting citizens at this point.
Well, let me ask you, did they get hearings when Biden allowed 21 million people?
What about Biden?
Because I think the number is 20 million people to flow into our country. You had 21 million people that came into our country through a stupid open border, and they were prisoners, and they were people that you don't want in many cases in our country, right? They came from all over the world. They came from the Congo. They came from South. They came from
South?
All over the world. We're talking about some of the roughest countries in the world they had here, including terrorists, by the way.
By the way, did you notice what he said? The Congo and South, and then called them some of the most horrible countries in the world. But he's not a racist.
Now, but did we give them a hearing when they came in?
Well, the law requires that every single person who is going to be deported gets a hearing first.
Well,
do you acknowledge that?
I'll have to ask the lawyers about that. All I can say is this. If you're going to have 21 million people, and if we have to get a lot of them out because they're criminals, we're going to have to act fast. We can't. Do you think we can give 21 million trials. Let's say each trial takes 2 weeks.
This is part of the new talking point that you're hearing that Stephen Miller. By the way, first of all, no one in the administration can land on a number. So one day it's 5 million, then it's 10 million, then it's 15 million, then it's 10 million again, then it's 21 million, then it's 20. No one knows. So I think they should just stop talking about a number, but they just want to throw out these big, beautiful numbers, okay?
Is that what you want us to do?
The law
Give
is the
21
law,
million?
sir. The law is the law, and you're
the law
sworn
doesn't
to
say anything
uphold it.
about trials.
No, not trials, hearings. I said
These
hearings.
people came in, they're
process.
not citizens. They came in illegally. They came into our country
Right.
illegally.
And
We
there's
have to get them out.
There's a legal process for that.
I can't, sure, and we follow the legal process. I can't have a trial, a major trial
I'm not
for
saying
every
major.
person that came in illegally. We have thousands of murderers that came in. They're going to murder people.
F1 in the chat, please.
They already have murdered people in our country.
Right, so
we have to get them out.
Love to
We
take
have
that
to get
shot.
them out fast.
Really bad guys, but in our country, even bad guys get due process,
Right.
right?
If people come into our country illegally, there's a different standard. These are illegal. They came in illegally.
But they get due process.
Well, they get a process where we have to get them out. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the Venezuelans.
They get whatever my lawyers say.
Right, all right, let's talk about the Venezuelans.
They get whatever my lawyers say. I don't think I really picked up on that when I listened to this in prep for the show today. They get whatever my lawyers say. Not what the Constitution says. Not what the Constitution says, but what his lawyers say. Okay.
You deported more than 200 Venezuelans to that prison in El Salvador. You say they're violent, they're gang members, they're terrorists. Many of them don't have a criminal record
by the way.
at all.
Well,
but I want to.
I'm not so sure about that. If you take a look,
I want to read you something.
Excuse me. When you look at those people, they were violent people. They were violent people.
But many of them don't have a criminal record
Go
at this
ahead.
point.
I don't-
So
I don't-
want
that's
to
what
read
you
you
say.
something. Well, it's based
Go
on
ahead.
their lawyer, what their lawyers
Go
have
ahead.
said. Okay.
Go ahead.
Joe Rogan said this. Joe Rogan, one of the leading podcasters, Trump supporter, about the deportation of Venezuelans. He said,
Sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I'll be right back. Hang tight. We are having some road construction. Sorry about that. We're having some road construction, and we got a notification from the town yesterday that they were going to cut power for a little while, and they told us it was going to happen after 1 p.m. today. Well, the knock on the door was just that, hey, we're going to cut your power in 10 minutes. I'm like, no, you're not. And then I reminded them, and they're like, I said, okay. So friends, I don't know. They might cut power in a few minutes, and if that's the case, I don't know what's going to happen. But everybody stay here for now. Don't leave. Thank you very much. Okay.
quote, rounding up gang members and shipping them to El Salvador with no due process. He said it was dangerous and added, quote, we got to be careful that we don't become monsters while we're fighting monsters. Is Joe Rogan right?
Oh, I agree with that 100%. Yeah.
So he agrees. So Joe Rogan, we don't want to be, while we're dealing with monsters, we don't want to become monsters. And then he says he agrees?
We want to be careful, and we are careful. We're doing something that has to be done. We have a country that's very sick. Joe Biden, and it's not him because I don't even think he knew what the hell was happening, but the people around him are vicious people. And what they've done to the country is unbelievable. They've allowed 21 million people to pour into our country. Many of these people are criminals. They've allowed you mentioned Venezuela, the jails of Venezuela to be emptied into the United States. Do you know Venezuela crime is way down? way, way down. You know why? Because their criminals are now living happily in the United
They
States
were
of America.
if they were in jail.
And we're getting them out. And I was...
Wait, if they were in jail, so in his mind, they were in jail, they were released from jail, and then they were shipped to America. So why would that have anything to do with the crime rate? Okay, got it.
Was elected to get them out, and we're getting them
Under
out,
the law.
and we're getting them out fast, and we're getting them out legally. Now,
if they're so vicious and there's such a criminal element and there's 21 million of them, but yet crime is down in our country over the last 4 years. Weird.
Some cases we have judges, in some cases they're radical left judges. What happened the other day where a judge was protecting a criminal was horrible. And I think she's got big problems, frankly.
Does she?
There are a couple of them like that.
I want to talk about one
Wait a
man.
minute.
Yep.
We have to be treated fairly by judges. And we're not being treated fairly by all judges.
So treated fairly by judges. Let's talk about that for a second, right? We discussed this quite a bit yesterday and last week when we got into our constitutional debate, correct? Of course it's correct, because that's what we did. When you're going after the judiciary because they don't rule in your favor, that, friends, is a dictatorship. There's no other way around it. That's what that is. When you tell the judiciary that we're going to call you vicious radicals because we don't like your opinions, we're going to arrest you if we don't like your opinions, that's a dictatorship.
Oh, that's a subject. So you're saying that you don't like some of the rulings, some of the court orders.
I think the rulings will be over.
Probably.
And there are a couple of them like that.
I want to talk about one
Wait a
man.
minute.
Yep.
We have to be treated fairly by judges. And we're not being treated fairly by all judges.
Oh, that's a subject. So you're saying that you don't like some of the rulings, some of the court orders.
I think the rulings will be overturned, yeah.
All right. Let me ask you about one man and one court order. Kilmar Abrego Garcia. He's the Salvadoran man who crossed into this country illegally, but who is under a protective order that he not be sent back to El Salvador. Your government sent him back to El Salvador and acknowledged in court that was a mistake. And now the Supreme Court has upheld an order that you must return him facilitate his return to the United States. What are you doing to comply?
Well, the lawyer that said it was a mistake was here a long time.
Oh, here we go.
Was not appointed by us.
Oh, okay.
Should not have said that. Should not have said that. And just so you
understand,
the person that you're talking about, you're making this person sound, this is a MS-13 gang member, a tough cookie, been in lots of skirmishes, beat the hell out of his wife, and the wife was petrified to even talk about him, okay? This is not an innocent, wonderful gentleman from Maryland.
I'm not saying he's a good guy. It's about the rule of law. The order from the Supreme Court stands,
sir. He came into our country illegally.
You could get him back. There's a phone on this desk.
I could.
You could pick it up, and with all the power of the presidency, you could call up the president of El Salvador and say, send him back right now.
And if he were the gentleman that you say he is, I would do that.
But the court has ordered you to facilitate that.
I'm not the one making this decision.
Oh, did you hear that? Listen to that again.
You could pick it up, and with all the power of the presidency, you could call up the president of El Salvador and say, send him back right now.
And if he were the gentleman that you say he is, I would do that.
But the court has ordered you to facilitate that.
I'm not the one making this decision. We have lawyers that don't want to do this.
I'm not the one making that decision. Dude, you're the fucking president.
El Salvador and say, send him back right now.
And if he were the gentleman that you say he is, I would do that.
But the court has ordered you to facilitate that.
I'm not the one making this decision. We have lawyers that don't want to do this.
But the buck stops in this office.
No. I follow the law. You want me to follow the law? If I were the president that just wanted to do anything, I'd probably keep him right where he is.
Supreme Court says what the law is.
Listen, I was elected to take care of a problem. It was a unforced error that was made by a very incompetent man, a man that turned out to be incompetent, that you always said was wonderful, a great genius, right? And now you find out, all of the media now, they're saying what a mistake they made. A man who was grossly incompetent allowed us to have open borders with millions of people flooding.
What about Biden?
I campaigned on that issue. I wouldn't say it was my #1 issue, but it was pretty close.
Right up there.
I campaigned on that issue. I've done an amazing job. I have closed borders. He said you couldn't do it. You wouldn't be able to do it. It would never happen. Well, it happened, and it happened very quickly. Wait a minute. When we have criminals, murderers, criminals in this country, We have to get him out, and we're doing it.
By law.
And you'll pick out one man, but even the man that you picked out, he said he wasn't a member of a gang. And then they looked, and on his knuckles, he had MS-13.
There's a dispute.
Well, wait a minute. He had MS-13 on his knuckles tattooed.
Oh, he had some tattoos that are interpreted that way. But let's move on.
Wait a minute. Hey, Terry.
He did not have the letter MS-13.
It says MS-13.
That was Photoshopped. So let me
That was Photoshop, Terry. You can't do that. Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You know, you're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay. But I picked you, Terry, but you're not being very nice. He had MS-13 tattooed.
We'll agree to disagree. I want to move on to something else.
Terry, do you want me to show you the picture?
I saw the picture.
And you think it was Photoshop? Well,
here we go.
Don't Photoshop it. Go look at his hand. He had MS-13.
He did have tattoos that can be interpreted that way. I'm not an expert on them. I want to turn to Ukraine.
Terry,
I want to get to Ukraine.
No. He had MS as clear as you can be, not interpreted. This is why people no longer believe the news, because
when
it's
he was
fake
photographed
news.
in El Salvador, they aren't there. But let's just go on. They aren't there when he's in El Salvador.
They weren't there, but they're there now, right?
No,
but they're there
in
now.
your picture.
Terry.
Ukraine, sir.
He's got MS-13 on his knuckles.
All right.
Okay?
We'll take a look at that.
You do such a disservice.
We'll take a look at that,
Why don't you
sir.
just say, yes, he does, and, go on to something else.
It's contested.
In the world, and they're coming.
So, that picture right there is close up of this picture that he put out. Yeah, exactly. You're right, Sam. Basically, say I'm right. Tell me I'm right. Why can't you just tell me I'm right? Why can't you? Wait, hold on.
Why can't you just tell me I'm right? Everybody knows I'm right. Why can't you tell me I'm right, you meanie, you big poopy pants? I'm right, and you know I'm right. Why can't you just tell me I'm right?
That's what it feels like. It's like total toddler energy. This is the picture, right? This is the photograph that he used. This is the superimposed version, right? Friends, those of you who have tattoos. Okay, I don't, but getting a tattoo like on the bone right there? No, that ain't gonna happen. So like we said yesterday, it's one of two things. And the more I hear that sound, the more I'm convinced that he is stupid and convinced that he is going to have, that he's going to be able to convince people that that is actually the case. Right? And you're right. It would have faded. Right? It would have faded. Exactly. Because there's no flesh there. Right? But this is what we're dealing with. Okay? This is who this particular person thinks he is. Oh, I see Jess. Good morning, sister.
Good morning. So I, as you know, have many, many tattoos.
You do?
Many. And I have many friends that have hand tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
That is clearly somebody photoshopping. And anybody who's like of sound body and mind would recognize. Joe Biden could probably recognize, and he's saying that he's delusional. That is clearly photoshopped. And apparently that picture came from the El Salvadorian president, right? Do we know that?
Well, that's what they say. Like, who the fuck knows? Like, I don't know. Who knows? It could be anybody. They could have just sent him that picture and then said, "Oh yeah, by the way, let's just slip in MS-13 because the president of the United States is too stupid to know any better, and that will help support our argument."
And when you look at the bail hearing, he had a bail hearing. When you look at the bail hearing, on the second page is the police report where they checked off, like certain things with gang affiliation, because they all have, police officers do that, right? Or whoever arrests them does that. And tattoos is not one of the things that was checked off.
No. Nope.
So, and the way that he approaches this reporter is like telling, right? Like,
absolutely.
By him saying, nobody even knows who you are. You're lucky to have this interview. Almost saying to him, like, bow down. You're in the presence of, like, me. And
exactly.
You need to say what I want you to say.
Exactly.
Meanwhile,
Exactly.
this man is very well known.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's one of two things. He's either ridiculously stupid or he is just in a point now where he's busted and caught and he's just going to double down so hard. It's probably a little bit of both or a lot of both.
I mean, the sickest part of the entire interview is him saying, we didn't put that judge in place. And that lawyer who said that's not somebody that was hired by us.
Correct.
Like if that doesn't tell people like Republicans and people that voted for him what his intentions are, I don't fucking know what will at this point.
You're exactly right. That's exactly right. Well, see, again, this conversation, and I'm glad the reporter talked about it the way in which he did. He said, this is, again, if Mr. Garcia or anybody, if you're a horrible person, okay, that we have laws though in our country, even people who unalive 25 children in a classroom get due process so they don't lose their own life. Even predators, P3DOs get due process. Right? I mean,
what about the kid? What the heck was his name? The one that went into a different state and like unalive. Yeah. Like he got due process and he got off.
He got due process.
Scot-free.
Yep. So again, it's about our system of law. You guys all know this because you're the smartest chat. Listen, you guys are the smartest chat on TikTok. Other creators are out there saying that their chat is the smartest. Nuh-uh. You guys are the smartest chat on TikTok. So everybody do this. That's damn right. You're the smartest chat on TikTok. I know there's a little bit of crossover. Some of you, that's fine. But you bring your smarts wherever you go. So therefore, you're the smartest chat on TikTok. Thank you. Sorry, Jess.
I cannot believe that this man actually said it is not up to me whether he comes back or not. Meanwhile, we are paying $6 million a year to this president. Talk about waste, fraud, and fucking abuse, right?
Correct. And then did you hear what the president said? It's like, I can't do that. I'm waiting for my lawyers. Thank you. I'm waiting for my lawyers. What is that saying? It tells you that he's not really the man in charge. I'm starting to think more and more that Stephen Miller is the one who's running the government currently.
Yeah.
Because if you think about the things that he says and you think about the policy proposals and things that he's talked about publicly from the previous administration and his claw-like taloned hands are all over Project 2025, he's probably the guy in charge. Or he's the guy that's in the president's ear saying, oh yeah, you know what? We're gonna go out and tell this, see this, Mr. President, MS-13. And Stephen Miller knows it's not even a real photograph.
Yeah.
He knows that, but he's going to tell him.
I really think that Donald Trump believes it's a real photo.
Yeah, well, the picture's real. It's just the Photoshop part is not, obviously.
But I don't know. I think he's so dumb. I think he's so uneducated and so dumb that like he probably looks at this picture and says,
"There's no way to go through life, son."
Exactly. Yeah, although he doesn't drink.
My fucking head hurts.
I know. Again, anything going on today? Anything you want to promote, my friend?
Nope. So tonight is Therapy Thursday with Amanda.
Nice.
So
nice.
You guys can join her. I believe she does it at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard, which I think is.
I think so.
She's in Central Standard, which isn't even a real time zone, so I can never heard. I do have a battle, so it's 8 p.m. Eastern Standard, so you can join that.
You keep cutting out, friend. So did you say 8 p.m. Eastern time? Jess, I lost you, sister. You can request again if you want to come back up. I'm sorry you had bad service. She's right though. So let's just say this. He's a man baby. And he is, it's funny. I'll just share a little bit of inside baseball. I was reached out to someone who watches our show regularly. When we were talking last week, Central Time doesn't exist. It's East Coast and West Coast. Kidding. We had a conversation last week about the division that politics has caused in the fracturing of families. right? And the fracturing of friendships. And this particular person reached out to me and said, hey, would you be willing to speak to my parents? And I said, I would absolutely be honored to do that. And we've gone back and forth via text messages, and I won't name names now just because we're still working out the details. And they had encouraged their parents to kind of watch some of my YouTube videos or some of the lives. And obviously, you know how I talk about Trump in here. And one thing that they picked up on was the fact that I refer to Donald Trump as a twice impeached, 4-time indicted, sexually abusing, fraudster, convicted felon. All of which is true. Twice impeached, fraud, twice impeached, 4-time indicted, sexually abusing, fraudster, convicted felon. All 4 of those things are factually true. So I don't know if this particular family is going to be willing to respond, because that's the introduction that they have to me in regard to the person that they support. But we'll see how that goes. So hopefully I'll have a conversation with them. We're trying to figure out if it's going to be a phone call. I don't think they want to be able to, I don't think they want to have a conversation on live. Anyway, we'll see how that goes. I'll keep you posted. Long story short, this is the person who's in charge of our federal government. Long story short, ow, something in my eye, my finger. Long story short, he's a nincompoop, as my uncle would say. Okay, let's talk about malicious compliance, since that's sort of the theme that I wanted to discuss today. First of all, what is malicious compliance? I've got a couple of examples for you, and I think the reason I kind of wanted to talk about this today is because you're starting to see more and more examples of people exercising their malicious compliance, like the sign's appropriate. My boss told me to change the sign, so I did. Here's a couple more thanks to Gregory, because Gregory's on his game today. Keep your iPhones and valuables under watch. Thefts are being reported in the library. They kept their iPhones and valuables under their watch. Here's another one. They told me to make a sign. Yeah, so you get it. Malicious compliance, right? The idea is that you kind of want to stretch things sort of a little bit. So I found a great example of someone who's exercising their malicious compliance in order to support the language of a bill that was written. And I will find that for you and play it for you because it's brilliant, okay? This is from the state of Wyoming. And I would like you to hear, I'd like you to hear this particular hearing that took place, and we will talk about another amazing example of malicious compliance, and I'll give you some more. This is fucking brilliant. Okay, this is this is the Wyoming legislature, and the person speaking first is the chairperson of this the Wyoming legislature. So just listen to this; it's amazing.
Up is Britt.
Hello. Thank you, Madam Chairman. As the Senate overwhelmingly voted yes.
You can call me Mr. Chairman if you want.
Well, I cannot be compelled to use your preferred pronouns as you have all voted.
Wait a minute. We're talking about preferred pronouns. A lot of people are. I prefer to be called Chairman French. Ooh. That's my preferred pronoun.
I know, and you all voted that preferred pronouns cannot be compelled speech in SF 77. Anyway, my name is Britt Borrell.
So, what she's referring to is SF 0077, which is from the Wyoming State Legislature. The title of the bill is Compelled Speech is Not Free Speech. The language of the bill reads as such: an act relating to the administration of government prohibiting the state and its political subdivisions from requiring the use of preferred pronouns, authorizing a civil remedy, and providing for an effective date. 914-601, compelled speech. The state and its political subdivisions shall not compel or require an employee to refer to another employee using that employee's preferred pronouns.
Next up is Britt.
Hello. Thank you, Madam Chairman. As the Senate overwhelmingly voted yes.
You can call me Mr. Chairman if you want.
Well, I cannot be compelled to use your preferred pronouns as you have all voted.
Wait a minute. We're talking about preferred pronouns. A lot of people are. I prefer to be called Chairman French. That's my preferred pronoun.
I know, and you all voted that preferred pronouns cannot be compelled speech in SF77. Anyway, my name is Britt Borrell.
That is absolutely savage. That's exactly how you respond. Oh, it's your bill. I can't be compelled based on your language. So oftentimes intentions then provide consequence. So a consequence of the language of this bill, again, as it reads, the state and its political subdivisions shall not compel or require an employee to refer to another employee using that employee's preferred pronouns. She did exactly as the bill states. Okay. So I have some more examples for you that I think are interesting that I'm just going to take you through a few of these. Some of them are related. I was busy. My brain was firing when I had this idea. It's so funny. I just want to share a little inside baseball. So I get these ideas, and can first of all, can we give hearts in the chat for our friend Gregory? We call Greg Legend for a reason. That's his nickname because he's the one that does these backgrounds every day, and I don't give him anything other than the freaking idea that pops in my brain. Right. So the other day I said, stop normalizing fascism. He's like, I'm not, dude. So it's this running joke that we have. And he comes up with the brilliance of our background. So hearts in the chat and love in the chat for our friend Gregory. Okay. So again, I just send him malicious compliance. Are you in? And this is what he comes up with. It's crazy. So when I had this idea, usually what happens is I get an idea, pops in my brain, and I immediately kind of dive in and I figure out what I want to say about it, and how I want to say about it, and I kind of try to come up with examples to support the argument, right? So I went through a bunch of things. I did a little bit of research and kind of came up with a bunch of examples as to what are some examples of malicious compliance that is in and around us. And some of them apply to our country. Some of them apply outside of our country. For example, Brexit deadlines, right? And the parliamentary procedures in the UK. So during the Brexit process, MPs used obscure procedural rules to take control of the parliamentary agenda or delay key votes. While following parliamentary rules exactly, they did so to frustrate the government's efforts to push Brexit through quickly. Malicious compliance was strictly following the letter of the parliamentary law to slow or redirect political processes, often against the government's intended pace. Malicious compliance in modern politics refers to situations where individuals, government officials, or political bodies follow rules or directives to the letter in a way that subverts their intent or causes negative consequences, often to highlight flaws in the policy or embarrass those who issued it. And here are some other examples. U.S. Postal Service changes during the 2020 election. Louis DeJoy, who, by the way, is still the Postmaster General, implemented policy changes that technically adhered to cost-cutting mandates. The malicious compliance? Critics argue these changes, like removing sorting machines and limiting overtime, were used to deliberately slow mail during an election heavily dependent upon mail-in ballots, complying with fiscal rules while potentially undermining the democratic process. It would be an example of malicious compliance. How does it apply in modern politics, in what we see now under the Trump administration? So here's a couple of other examples. Everybody, please keep tapping and sharing, please. And don't forget about the elaborate Gift for Erica fund, which are my pay apps, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal. So here are some examples in modern politics. Blue states on the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act from 2017. The GOP-led tax reform capped the state and local taxes deduction, hurting high tax states like New York, California. The malicious compliance? In response, some blue states proposed turning state taxes into charitable contributions, which remain deductible under federal law following tax rules to technically allow workarounds. The IRS quickly issued rules to block this tactic, but it highlighted how states complied with federal laws while undermining its intended effect. Right? Democratic cities on ICE detainers. Context: the Trump administration asked local police to honor ICE detainer requests for undocumented migrants. Malicious compliance. Cities like San Francisco and New York followed the exact legal requirement, refusing to detain individuals beyond their release time unless given a court-issued warrant, not just a request. The outcome? They followed federal law exactly, but refused to cooperate in spirit, effectively resisting the administration's immigration crackdown. So, malicious compliance. Let me bring up Eve real quick, and she'll take care of some business, as we say. Take care of some business. Good morning, my friend.
Some business.
Some business.
Some business. Well,
how you doing?
I'm up here to take care of some business.
Please do.
Oh, good morning, everyone. Y'all know that I'm here to remind you to please support our fabulous hostess with the mostest. He's our meticulous media marauder making moves against the magnificent misinformation machine. And he's here every day with that fiery feral fist for freedom, bringing you facts over feelings, 'cause facts still matter, and they always will. So, if you have the means, let's help Fax meet his gift goal, y'all. You can find the pay apps in the link tree of his bio, as well as the Fax HQ and Discord link. You can reach the HQ via FactsStillMatter.site, where we've got live sources, community resources, and you can view and purchase merchandise. There's lots of new merch in there, so go poke around and see if anything speaks to you. If you're a sub, you can get 10% off that merch. It's one of our perks. And if you're not a sub, I just don't know what you're doing, especially if you place an order, because it will literally pay for itself with that 10% discount. Now, if you're just looking for that fun free forum for the Fax family to frolic, then Discord is the place. If the link doesn't work, try to copy and paste it into a browser or Google. And if that doesn't work, reach out to a moderator and we'll hook you up. When you join, please open a ticket. There's a couple quick questions. It's part of our process. If you need assistance with that, you can ask away in the unverified lobby and we'll walk you through it. Now, if you haven't already, please click that follow or heart me up at the top of the screen next to Fax's name. You can join the team for the cost of a penny. You can do this every day, and it helps to keep us relevant and on the FYP. The main thing that we ask is that you interact in the comments as well as tapping your little hearts out. It's always free to tap and share out the live. If you don't have any friends, well, make some.
Aww.
We have an amazing chat filled with positive people. But you can also click that copy link. It works the same as a share. After this live stream, head on over to YouTube and subscribe to Facts Still Matter there as well. Check out the videos and like those. You can rewatch for any information that you missed. And subscriptions on YouTube are free, just like following your favorite creators here on TikTok. So with that, I'll say be kind, smile at a stranger, and have a fuck your feelings kind of day.
Please, when you are over at the Fax HQ and you go to the items in the merch store, you can thank Erica and Eve for the awesome materials that we have there. Please go pick some stuff up, and it's at a discount. So go, especially by subscribing, becoming a member. You get some really cool stuff. As part of your malicious compliance, wear things like resist and the fuck wheel, which is that's right. TikTok says we can't say fuck. Well, fuck, that fucking sucks. What the fuck am I going to do if I can't say fuck on TikTok? That fucking sucks.
You're fucked.
I'm totally fucked. Thank you, Eve. I appreciate you, friend. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. I know, right? So thank you for that. I appreciate you, Eve. All right. So some other examples of what we see in modern politics are examples of malicious compliance. Again, the intention here is the idea behind it, just to kind of give you the summary of what it is again. Malicious compliance in modern politics specifically, it refers to situations where individuals, government officials, or political bodies follow the rules or the directives to the letter in a way that subverts their intent or causes negative consequences, often to highlight flaws in the policy or embarrass those who used it. Got some other examples for you. So let's use a couple of other ones that are much more applicable now. So congressional Republicans and the debt ceiling, for example. Congressional Republicans, particularly during Democratic presidencies, have often refused to raise the debt ceiling without major concessions. Malicious compliance. They follow the rule that Congress must authorize debt increases, but use this to create crisis situations, knowing the government is legally required to pay its debts. The effect, technically, lawful behavior used to extract political leverage and threaten shutdowns, often with harmful economic consequences. Joe Biden's student loan forgiveness program, post-SCOTUS ruling, okay? After the Supreme Court struck down Joe Biden's broad student loan forgiveness, the administration began canceling debt using existing narrow legal authorities like the Higher Education Act and income-driven repayment of adjustments. Malicious compliance, arguably, the administration didn't defy the court, nope, but stretched every available legal pathway to still deliver targeted forgiveness, staying within the letter of the law while challenging its original political defeat. So we can think of another example just popped in my mind. If Donald Trump thinks that he can run for the presidency, then for a third term, then there is no argument against Barack Obama doing the same. They would have to manipulate the language to say, well, it can't be 2 consecutive terms or something like that, and then we'll know their entire ballgame, okay? So here's some ones from the Trump administration specifically. Federal judges requiring detailed justifications for policy reversals. The Trump administration attempted to reverse many Obama-era policies, for example, DACA, the Clean Power Plan, and the census citizenship question. The malicious compliance. Courts required that the administration to provide detailed legal justifications for each reversal, as required by the administrative law, or APA. Judges didn't block the efforts outright. They simply demanded exact procedural compliance, which the administration often has failed to meet. The example? Supreme Court ruled in the Department of Homeland Security versus Regents of the University of California that the DACA repeal was arbitrary and capricious due to lack of proper justification, not because it was illegal per se. So again, a lot of this is procedural, right? This is some heady stuff, which again, because you guys are the smartest chat on TikTok, give yourselves a pat on the back again. Hold on, somebody wants to battle, and I don't do battles because they stress me out. This is some petty stuff, but you guys are the smartest chat on TikTok, and y'all can take it. Okay. The Pentagon's reprogramming of funds for the border wall. Context. After Congress refused to fully fund Trump's border wall, he declared a national emergency to redirect military construction funds. The malicious compliance. The Pentagon complied by formally reprogramming funds through existing budgetary processes, but in a way that slow-walked or legally insulated the transfers, triggering lawsuits and oversight. Remember how pissed off the Trump administration was that happened. The effect, officials technically followed orders, but with legal caution, delays, and documentation that undercut the political urgency Trump wanted for the project. Following the rules. This is what you asked. We did this. You didn't tell us we had to do it tomorrow. We're going to follow the rules. We're going to step our way through this thing because it's an example of malicious compliance. State governments and C-19 restrictions. Trump often pressured states to reopen during the early stages of COVID-19 and criticized mask mandates. Malicious compliance. Blue state governors, for example, Gavin Newsom in California, technically left decisions to local authorities, but structured the rules to maintain strict controls, complying with federal guidance just enough while resisting Trump's push for rapid reopenings. Example, some states would say, we are following CDC guidelines, but use the slowest and most conservative interpretations. Not violating the law, abiding by the rules, just saying, yeah, okay, here's what it says, so we're going to comply maliciously. The Pentagon's delay on Ukraine aid from 2019. Trump's delay in military aid to Ukraine led to his first impeachment, as we know. Malicious compliance. After the hold was lifted, career Pentagon officials released the funds with bureaucratic precision and public transparency, following legal rules to the letter, but making it obvious that the delay had been political, not policy-based. It helped expose the administration's motives and fed into the impeachment inquiry. Okay, that's his own Pentagon working against him because of the fact that he violated the law. Again, remember, money's appropriated by Congress, Article 1 powers. They got the checkbook. Congress and the Pentagon were like, okay, we're doing this, but we're going to do this at our pace because we're going to protect the Constitution, something like that. Trump's own use of executive orders without legislative backing. Context. When Congress wouldn't pass desired legislation, like, for example, the payroll tax or immigration overhauls, Trump used executive orders. Again, smartest chat on TikTok, you guys know that executive orders are not law and they do not supersede law. They are literally hardly worth the paper they're written on because they can just be torn up or tested for illegality and or ruled unconstitutional by the Supreme Court. Malicious compliance by the agencies. Many agencies followed them symbolically or minimally, knowing that they weren't backed by enforceable law. Okay? Example, his payroll tax deferral order from August of 2020 was technically followed by the Treasury, but many employers chose not to implement it due to lack of legal certainty, obeying the letter but ignoring the intent, right? We can use the TikTok ban as another example. It was passed by law, but there was a lot of wiggle room within the language. So was the Trump administration maliciously complying with the law, saying, okay, yeah, we understand that it's banned, but we're going to use the letter of the law to continue to kick the can down the road, okay? So here's some examples of Trump's own malicious compliance, okay? Filing personal financial disclosures, but avoiding full transparency. Here's what happened. Trump filed required financial disclosures while in office as required by law, but never released his tax returns, breaking with modern precedent. So the financial disclosures he submitted, and he talks about that regularly, right? Oh yeah, I submitted everything. The taxes, oh, they're under audit, blah, blah, blah. He followed legal minimums, disclosing ranges of assets and liabilities, not precise numbers, thus technically complying with disclosure laws while denying transparency typically expected of presidents. Kind of what got him in trouble in New York, right? Didn't disclose everything or lied or manipulated it. Remember, raised the value of his properties for loans, decreased the values of his properties for tax purposes, and that's what got him busted, and that's why he's indicted. And that's why he's a criminal, 34-count convicted felon, right? Falsifying business records, first degree, you get it. Okay. Declaring a national emergency. I saw this one earlier. Declaring a national emergency to fund the border wall. After Congress refused to fully fund his border wall in 2019, Trump declared a national emergency to redirect Pentagon funds, which we talked about a little bit earlier. He followed the law that allows a president to reallocate funds in a declared emergency, but used it in a context Congress had just explicitly rejected, effectively bypassing the legislative process while remaining within legal bounds. President, I think it's 30 days that once money's appropriated, the president can say, no, we're not going to do that. In many cases, the situation with the Javelin missiles, for example, for Ukraine, which got him impeached the first time, that was well outside of the 30 days or 60 days. It was well outside of that protocol. Here's another example, right? So I'm going to declare a national emergency, which he has the powers to do, the executive powers. The EPA, the Executive Powers Act, gives the president that authority to declare a national emergency. Did that, much like governors can declare emergencies in their state for disasters or whatever else it might be. So he technically followed the rule, but he did it outside of the bounds of the legislature. An example of malicious compliance. Perfect phone call defense for Ukraine. In his call with the Ukraine president, Trump asked for an investigation into Joe Biden while withholding military aid. Malicious compliance as his defense, Trump repeatedly insisted the call was, quote, perfect, emphasizing there was no explicit quid pro quo in the transcript, even though the subtext was very clear. Tactic, complying with the literal reading of the call transcript while ignoring the broader implications and intent. Executive order with limited legal effect, C-19 and beyond. Trump issued several high-profile executive orders, for example, payroll tax deferrals, drug pricing orders that sounded dramatic but had little to no effect. The malicious compliance, he used executive authority to appear active while knowing enforcement was weak or symbolic, exploiting the power for political theater rather than policy impact. Okay? This one's interesting. This is exactly what we're talking about now. 2020 citizenship question dragging out compliance. After the Supreme Court blocked the administration's plan to add a citizenship question to the census, Trump ordered agencies to compile the data another way. Malicious compliance. He abandoned the blocked question but used other legal avenues to gather similar data and continue the political narrative, complying with the ruling while undermining its intent. Interesting. As we're not going to add this, he found a legal avenue to do it, which again is malicious compliance, but he followed the law. Okay. Leaving the Paris Climate Agreement. What happened? Trump in 2017 said the U.S. would withdraw from the Paris Agreement, the malicious compliance. He couldn't officially leave until November of 2020 per the deal process, immediately ensuring the U.S. 20 election, symbolically following the agreement's exit rules while maximizing political drama. So he basically started the process saying that we're leaving the Paris Climate Accord, knowing that he couldn't, based on the terms, happen until after the election of 2020. Okay. All right. So I think it's only fair that we talk about examples of malicious compliance that applies to other presidents as well. So I found some that I think are some that apply to Barack Obama. All right. His administration followed the laws, the court rulings, or political norms technically, but in ways that subverted expectations. I've got a pen and a phone. Executive order amid gridlock. Context. After repeated obstruction by a Republican-controlled Congress, Obama increasingly relied on executive actions, much like Trump did in his first term, to push policy, especially on immigration, the environment, and labor. Malicious compliance. He followed the constitutional powers to the letter, issuing orders or regulatory guidance without new legislation, but did so to sidestep Congress, knowing it would enrage critics and provoke lawsuits. Example, the Clean Power Plan and DACA were both efforts to expand policy authority without violating the law, technically compliant, but politically inflammatory. DACA, after Congress, which was the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, which again is part of for me, it is necessary to do, if we're not addressing DACA in immigration policies and changes, then we're doing a disservice to the entire system. Different conversation. After Congress failed to pass the DREAM Act, Obama used prosecutorial discretion to defer deportation for undocumented immigrants brought here as children. The malicious compliance. The administration enforced the immigration law, but chose not to prioritize deportation of dreamers, following enforcement guidelines while reshaping their intent. Effect. This move framed a non-legislative action as humanitarian relief, while opponents viewed it as legislative overreach. All right, and there's a couple more here. Hopefully this is interesting to you guys. I thought this was kind of fascinating because we see it every single day. Now we have an example of a state legislator in Wyoming saying, well, you told me I can't be compelled to use in your own bill, I can't be compelled to use your preferred pronoun, so I'm not going to do it. If you like your plan, you can keep it. It goes back to Obama again. This is for the ACA rollout. What happened? The Affordable Care Act banned substandard health insurance plans, which led to many policies being canceled, even though people had them before. The malicious compliance from the critics' perspective. The administration enforced ACA provisions strictly, causing people to lose plans they liked, even though Obama had promised otherwise. The response after the backlash, the administration allowed a temporary waiver, still compliant with ACA, but more politically convenient. So remember that whole time, the ACA, what we have now was like 25% of the initial plan, that to get it passed, to get it signed into law, is going to require compromise. You remember that famous moment on the floor where John McCain during the Trump administration, standing right next to the turtle, Mitch McConnell said no, they didn't want to repeal and replace Obamacare. So there's a history there. And then Gitmo closure delays executive versus legislative power. Obama campaigned on closing Guantanamo Bay, but ran into bipartisan congressional blocks that barred detainee transfers to the U.S. The malicious compliance. His administration followed these restrictions, but slow-walked processes and sought third-party agreements to transfer detainees abroad, effectively undermining Congress's resistance without breaking any laws. The result, Gitmo wasn't closed, but detainees were quietly relocated or released, technically obeying limits, but continuing closure efforts under the radar. So I wanted to go through this exercise because I want to encourage people to be maliciously compliant, to follow the law, but to stretch it. To, for example, go change the sign because you're told to. Or mark with a C on your Starbucks cup and you make it C-A-R-K as opposed to M-A-R-C. Or you're asked to, again, go make a sign and you make a sign. There are numerous things that we all can be doing right now to be maliciously compliant. Don't break the laws. I'm not encouraging you to do that. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I'm just saying, don't be afraid to stretch it. All right? I've got a few more examples of this, but I think there's a few other things I kind of want to get to. Everyone, please keep tapping and clapping. Tapping is clapping and sharing is caring. Just as a reminder. Hold on. Thank you, Mark, for your contribution on Cash App. Also, thank you to Catherine. You're so kind. You're here every single day doing what you do to support what we do here. So I appreciate you very, very much. You're amazing. Also, thank you to VLA. Thank you to VLA. I appreciate you for what you do and supporting our channel. Thank you very much. By the way, guys, I want to go back to what we discussed at the beginning of the show. You're never going to see me do a pay to kick. You're never going to see me do advertising what the live goal is, with the exception of gifts, because it's kind of part of the process. I'm never going to do that. If you ever see me do it, then I want you to call my shit out. If you ever see me doing things that are contradictory to the things that I say, then call me out. I want you to hold me accountable. That's what I expect. I don't care. Quite frankly, I think about something that George Carlin said, and I've talked about this before. Cocaine enhances your personality. What if you're an asshole? If you are a predator or insincere or disingenuous or a fraud or a liar, then this platform is going to make it a hell of a lot easier for you to do that. So I expect you guys to hold me accountable. I asked my mod team to do it. We hold each other accountable, and I have no problem being held accountable. Okay. All right. So let's talk about a few other things. Some more sound from our fearless leader regarding the impacts of tariffs, because we're starting to see he's really, really bothered by the economic report that came out the other day about the GDP is going to contract for the first time since 2022, which was, COVID related. So this is some sound from him because he's triggered, big time triggered.
Totally hammered in China. And, they're sending boats, the biggest boats in the world, carrying cargo like nobody's ever seen before. These are the biggest boats in the world, biggest cargo ships in the world. And they're coming and they're turning around in the Pacific Ocean. They're doing a big U-turn and going back because they don't want the goods, because 145% tariff. But at a certain point, I hope we're going to make a deal with China. We're talking to China, but their factories are closing all over China because we're not taking their product. We don't want their product unless they're going to be fair with us.
So I don't know if this has been discussed enough, but global trade requires some levels of assumption. There's a bit of a symbiotic relationship between exports and imports, much like freight, 18-wheelers domestically or trains. It requires cargo ships, freight haulers, train cars to be filled on arrival so that it can be filled on return. So again, I want to look at this picture. If I can find it. Do I have it? I'm sure I do. Right here. So we've talked about this a few times, right? So this is the Port of San Diego. Or I'm sorry, the Port of Seattle. No cargo ships coming in, which means, obviously, no product coming in, but without those cargo ships in port, then becoming empty, no product goes out. So if the intention here is to fire up domestic manufacturing, there's no way to get the products out without the ships coming in. So China holds the leverage in this entire scenario. They've got, their factories are not closing. That's not happening. They are just finding other trading partners that are more reliable. So kind of keep that in mind. Again, it's this symbiotic relationship that requires, like logistics in any situation, you've got to make some assumptions that those freight haulers that are coming in with a full truck are going to get their truck loaded up on the back end and then shipped out. Same thing happens with global shipping. And when he says things like they've never seen before, that's because he's stupid. Just to clarify, that's what that means. That he's dumb. That he doesn't know any better. So back to back to this one. All right, that's one example. Here's another. By the way, just as a reminder, I found this great meme. Canada picked a guy with a PhD in economics from Oxford. Mexico chose an amazing woman with a degree in physics and a PhD in energy engineering. And the United States handed the job to a carnival barker, senior citizen with multiple felonies, sexual assault, being found liable for an SA, and 6 bankruptcies under his belt. American excellence. Yay us. It's true, though. Good morning, Benny. How you doing, brother?
Friendly neighbor from up north. How's it going, eh?
It's going great. How's the first week under the keeping Canada glorious and free going?
The dust has settled. There are many of us who are now just in the processing everything that's happened, and there are others who are not so happy because they backed the wrong horse and they lost. And by that I mean we got a lot of Maple Mega and Alberta people wanting to separate. It's not going to fucking happen. So it's been interesting. There's been some interesting developments.
I'm sorry, but we can't have Maple and MAGA in the same sentence like ever again. That's going to dilute the brand, buddy. We can't do that. We've got to find another name for them.
I think so too, because I mean, we talk about maple syrup, and while we have divisive opinions about it, at the end of the day, it's the yummy
Betty,
golden stuff.
There's no divisive opinions. The best syrup in the world is in Vermont. That's not a divisive opinion, my guy.
Hey, let's keep it civil here.
No, but I've seen
all goofs and gaffs, though.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've seen when he's supposed to be coming to Mark Carney, that is the duly elected Canadian Prime Minister, is supposed to be coming to visit the twice impeached, 4-time indicted, sex abusing fraudster, convicted felon, like next week, I think, right?
Carney is just he has to write his crown speech because he has to go to the Governor General and be like, "Hey, look, I want a government. Can I have a government?" And then they'll be like, "Sure." And then we'll have Parliament back in session in May. But yeah, he's gonna go. He's gonna go see Pumpkin Spice Palpatine in person. I would imagine that probably what's going to happen is they'll have their meeting, and Carney will just do Carney things and be Canada's dad on the world stage. And Trump's just going to be a little man baby and probably make some post on Truth Social like, nasty Carney is not very nice. Wasn't letting me play ball. Doesn't have the cards. But I'll play nice for now. Whatever the fuck he wants to say. Probably a lot of like caps in there too, because that's how he writes. So, like I said, interesting developments happening. Pierre Poilievre has been silent, but there's been talks. He's going to be taking another MP seat. The Conservative Party's probably going to put him in a riding that's like heavily blue and easy to win. Let's be real. Mm-hmm. And in terms of leadership, we don't know. His leadership's under review. That's for sure, because his party, while they lost, did gain more seats than what was projected. So we'll see what happens there. We don't know if the Conservative Party will fracture as a result. Again, be interesting to see what happens. But now we're at the stage of, okay, we won the election. The people we wanted got in. Now where do we go from here? Well, we got to hold our representatives accountable now. Got to hold our government accountable. I'm going to take a page from Matt's book, I think,
Yeah.
See your representatives. Let them see your face. Talk to them every day.
Let them see your face. Well, I talk to them every single day. I think it's great that he does that. I really, really respect that. And then he follows them to D.C., which makes it even better. Well, that's great. I mean, yeah, obviously keep us posted. I'm much more in tune to Canadian politics now than I ever have been, just because I think the volatility specifically around this particular election. So keep us posted, man. You're the man on the street.
Did you see one of the memes I was sharing? Because it was when Trudeau resigned, he took his seat out of Parliament, made a silly face, and people have been captioning that like, "Hey, look, guys, I found Pierre's seat."
I've not seen that yet. I will mention. Is it in the Discord?
Yeah, I put it up there yesterday, so
Okay, I'll find it.
And I'll be sharing more stuff as things develop, and keep you all informed with what's going on. And just as you guys keep me informed on things, it's part of why I tune in every morning. So
I appreciate you, my friend, as always.
Elbows up. Yep. Keep your stick on the ice. Be good.
Thank you, my friend. See you later. We freaking love Benny. Love to hear from him every day. And I think it's really good news, obviously, that, the Canada remaining glorious and free, elected Mark Carney, overwhelmingly, well, not overwhelmingly so, but with a good mandate, we'll put it that way. And now we'll see what happens when Mr. Carney comes and tells the president of the United States that, no, we're not going to be the 51st state, so stop talking about it, dude. Okay, so obviously there's a lot of deflection, the what about Biden game continues because of Mr. Trump's failure to govern round 2. This is an interesting take here. I'll play this for you because he was being pressed in the White House by reporters. Some reporters starting to be a bit more assertive and a bit more aggressive, staying away from these softball questions, at least until they lose their credentials. But this was an interesting question and an interesting answer.
Sir, you frequently took credit for the stock market highs. You said it was a reflection of how well you were doing in the polls. And then after you were elected, you said the stock market highs were a reflection of how well the transition is going and the American people's confidence in your incoming administration. Now, the stock market's not doing so well, and you're saying that's the Biden stock market, yet you are the president. Can you explain that?
Yeah, I'm not taking credit or discredit for the stock market. I'm just saying that we inherited a mess, both at the borders. You could look at every single one of the people here, and no matter who it is, they're doing better, and they are far superior.
So this is what he said last year, post-election, after he won. This is the Trump stock market because this is from Trump on Truth Social. Sorry, I have to do this.
So Tim, this is the Trump, in all caps, by the way, so you guys can all pay attention because I'm going to tell you something that I want you to believe. This is the Trump stock market because my polls against Biden are so good that investors are projecting that I will win, and that will drive the market up. Everything else is terrible. Watch the Middle East. And record-setting inflation has already taken its toll. Make America great again. This is the Trump stock market. And then I said this when I was interviewed, though.
You frequently took credit for the stock market highs. You said it was a reflection of how well you were doing in the polls. And then after you were elected, you said the stock market highs were a reflection of how well the transition is going and the American people's confidence in your incoming administration. Now, the stock market's not doing so well, and you're saying that's the Biden stock market, yet you are the president. Can you explain that?
Yeah, I'm not taking credit or discredit for the stock market. I'm just...
Okay, this was yesterday on True Social.
This is Biden's stock market, not Trump's. I didn't take over until January 20th. Tariffs will soon start kicking in, and companies are starting to move into the USA in record numbers. Our country will boom, but we have to get rid of the Biden overhang. This will take a while, has, all caps, nothing to do with tariffs. Only that he left us with bad numbers. But when the boom begins, it will be like no other. In all caps, be patient. Be patient.
Some people like the voice. Some people hate the voice. I like the voice, so I'm using the voice. Anyway, point being, when the stock market was breaking records, setting all-time highs, all through the summer, it was Trump stating that, hey, it's because of me. And now that the stock market is in the shitter based on his tariffs and his volatility and everything else, it's, what about Biden? Interesting. So convenient to have somebody to blame.
To go out of our way. They have...
Okay, we already talked about the ships being loaded up with stuff, right? So this is another example of and well, I'm going to play this first, and then we'll talk about it the other side. Okay, here we go. This is more in the same interview regarding China and cargo ships and freight.
To President Xi of China.
That'll happen. I mean, look, right now, and I told you before, they're having tremendous difficulty because their factories are not doing business. They made $1 trillion with Biden, $1 trillion, even $1.1 trillion.
I have no fucking idea where he's getting that. It's called trade. It's not like they made $1 trillion. It's trade, right? God, this guy's so stupid.
With Biden selling us stuff. Much of it we don't need. You know, somebody said, oh, the shelves are going to be open. Well, maybe the children will have $2 instead of $30, you know. And maybe the $2 will cost a couple of bucks more than they would normally. But we're not talking about something that we have to go out of our way. They have ships that are loaded up with stuff, much of which, not all of it, but much of which we don't need. And we have to make a fair deal. We've been ripped off by every country in the world, but China, I would say, is the leading one.
Okay, so I don't know about you, but I don't think it's necessary and or appropriate from a billionaire telling American consumers what they should and shouldn't buy. I'm sorry, little Sally, little Johnny, you can't have the extra doll because the president of the United States doesn't think you should. And then did you catch the tail end of that? Yeah, so those $2 will be a bit more expensive. Every single day, because he's stupid, fucking stupid. It's right, because we're not allowed to fucking swear on this fucking app any fucking more. So it's fucking stupid. He tries to say that in an attempt to try to pivot away from the conversation, he tries to say that tariffs are not inflationary and that China's going to pay for it. And then every once in a while, the truth sneaks in. Yeah, so those $2 might be more expensive. Funny how that worked out for you, my guy. I'm really sorry to hear that. But anywho, so got a little bit more sound for you regarding from that same interview that was done recently. This one is quite disturbing, but then again, aren't they all? Okay, hold on. Pause that.
You've gone after law firms because they've employed people you don't like, or they have represented people you don't like.
They obviously agreed because they paid me a lot of money.
Well, the reason they agreed is because you were threatening.
So again, what this is in reference to is that he's targeted law firms and lawyers in particular who, in his mind, have used what he likes to refer to as lawfare. And then you hear that word sprinkled in Republican speech. You hear it sprinkled into Fox News and their whole agenda and their bullshit. So he's talking about the fact that they paid me money, and the reporter is right. He says, "Well, they paid you money because you're going to use executive orders to say that they can't defend people in government."
Threatening to destroy their business with your executive order that said you can't represent clients for the federal government. That's their bread and butter.
Boys. These are the biggest, most powerful lawyers. These are not people.
You got a lot of leverage
easily intimidated.
As president, you've got all the cards.
And they paid hundreds of millions of dollars because they felt, I guess, they probably felt they did something wrong.
It was for survival, sir.
No, it isn't.
You're crushing their business.
These firms are very powerful firms, and there's 15 of them. And these are firms that probably, well, look, you have to ask them. In fact, this is a separate story. You have to ask them, why did you all pay Trump hundreds of millions of dollars in services, etc.? Why did you do that? I don't know.
You don't think that
we have a clause in the thing that while we admit no wrongdoing, but you know, it's like one of those things. And now I'm friendly with those firms, but it's, you know, these are the most powerful firms in the world. And they just signed whatever I put in front of them. I've never seen anything like it. I'm actually surprised myself in a certain way. But they obviously felt they probably did something wrong. I guess that's why they signed.
I guess the question out of that is the concern that people have. Are you using your powers as president to get personal revenge?
No, I'll tell you what. You're really not asking, and you should be asking. There has never been a president in this country, in the history.
Everybody, get your tissues ready, okay?
That was persecuted like I was persecuted by really crooked people, dishonest, horrible people, and it's been proven. So when you say I'm treating people rough, I'm not treating people rough. I was treated worse than any president in the history of our country. And, people figured, well, maybe that's it. Finally, we got, he's leaving town. There goes the helicopter. And then I came back. And I came back because I have tremendous support. When you win an election like I won it, and you will admit I won all 7 swing states, I won the popular vote, I won 2,750 districts compared to 500 districts. That's why the map is all red. And those people feel that I was treated unfairly.
Okay. So where to begin? Always the victim, right? First of all, I've seen the game that the right likes to play when they put the map up, the map that is all red. But there are also maps that would let people know that Wyoming and Vermont compete for the lowest population every single year, around 600,000 people or so, right? Which means in Wyoming in particular, thank you, land doesn't vote. People do. And lots of people tend to live in larger cities, which is why there's more people there. But the victimhood is unbelievable. So, Mrs. Lincoln, how'd you enjoy the play? Miss Kennedy, I'm sorry, there's a little blood on your dress. Yeah, but he's the one that's been persecuted more than anyone. Just a little note. The Republican Party, they love the fetus, starve the child. They love the soldier, abandon the veteran. They love corporations, fleece the worker. They love the Bible, ignore the verses.
But he's been waiting.
His just victimhood speaks to a very, speaks to the manosphere, right? So let me think of how I want to say this. He plays the victim, which then gives license to other mediocre white men to play the victim too, at every chance they get. Well, listen, he's under threat. He's being persecuted. They're coming to get him. My president's taking one from me too. Can't believe those big meanie lawyers in those blue cities. They're going after him. Our president's standing up for me and my rights. States' rights, brother. He's not taking a paycheck. He's looking out for us. You see him go to McDonald's and serve hot dogs and hamburgers? That's my president right there. That's one of the draws, right? He creates this myth that he's this big victim. I'm the victim. I'm the victim in all of this. And if they can come after me, they can come after you. Where that is dangerous is he's been able to convince his base exactly that I'm the victim, you're the victim. It's the radical left judges, it's the radical left lawyers, it's the political content creators. And again, I need to be saying this every day since they say that we're all under threat. Cash Patel, how you doing? Cash, facts. DJT, how's it going? Pam Bondi, how are you? I'm here every Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern time to noon Eastern time. That'd be 8 to 12. Fuck you. Thank you. Have a good day. And then it infects the mind of his base. And no matter what he tells them, one for us. Okay? So interviews recently. This is from Fox and Friends. This is, again, audience reaction to the first 100 days.
The first 100 days has been a breath of fresh air. I think that everybody's been waiting for change, no matter what party you are. Right. I feel that the change is undeniable. And so this is the first 100 days. I can't wait to see what the first 1,000 days.
What about the next 100 days?
The next 100 days are going to be exciting. Those trade talks. He's got 8 countries that are right on.
Okay, first of all, I don't know where she got the 8 from, because we hear Trump say there are hundreds, over 200 countries have reached out to us. There's only 195 countries, first of all, in the world. There are no talks. There's been no evidence of talks. His response is like, yeah, I'm not going to tell you who we're talking to and when, because then I would have to tell you who we're talking to and when. And since we're not talking to anybody, I can't tell you that. So where the fuck did she get 8 from?
On the line to get started, and I think it's going to be laying the groundwork to his point earlier that he's building the house, he's building the framework for what our future is. And as a mother of 3 children in this country, we're bringing it back to basics, and we're building from the bottom up.
What the fuck is bringing it back to basics? They're just so unbelievably indoctrinated. That was just an interview with a Trump voter being interviewed by who's the Steve Doocy, Peter Doocy's dad, who's at Fox and Friends, which is where Pete Hegseth got his start in journalism, right? So again, just a bit of a weird flex that we continue to hear. Okay, so this is another example, more sound than an interview, and I keep bouncing around a little bit because I think it's appropriate that we talk about these things because we're starting to really see his cognitive decline because he can't keep his lies straight. I would encourage everyone from a malicious compliance perspective, when you're in conversations with your friends on the right and or family members on the right, or if you show up at a MAGA Live, just use the words Trump's cognitive decline every single chance you get. Every single chance that you get. Let's let them eat crow. Spoon feed it to them if necessary. So this is another interesting lie that he told about tourism.
And Canadians, many of them, are really angry, furious about your talk about we're going to take over Canada, it's going to become the 51st state. And it kind of is of a piece. A lot of travel is down into the United States from around the world. It feels like there's been reputational damage.
The country's doing great.
Well,
prices are down.
Not the tourism.
Gasoline's down.
No.
Energy's down.
No.
Tourism is going to be way up.
What?
Wait till you see the numbers. The tourism is way up.
Not now.
Now Canada, tourism's doing very well. We're doing very well.
Actually, no, we're not. I have something I can show you in that regard. That's not the one. Hold on. Stand by. Stand by. Here we go. This is far fewer non-U.S. travelers are coming to the U.S. It's been on a pretty gradual decline, but oh no, what's happened there? So no, sir. No. And someone who lives in a state whose economy absolutely depends on tourism, because Benny, I know you're listening, because so many people around the world want to come to Vermont for the world's best maple syrup, right? Absolutely right. Hold on. Absolutely right. Best maple syrup. That's right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks. Yes, we depend on tourism, and so many other states across our country absolutely depend on tourism. There's a story coming out of the state of Maine because a lot of Canadian visitors, the term banana hammock, are you all familiar with the term banana hammock? We have a shirt in the merch store. Do you guys know what a banana hammock is? Well, Old Orchard Beach in Maine is filled with French-Canadian banana hammocks every summer. And a lot of the hotel operators there and small inn operators depend on Canadian tourists to come to Old Orchard Beach and bring their banana hammocks. Well, a lot of places, there's reporting that some of these establishments are going to close because their reservations are down between 50 and 60%. So no, sir. No. Yes, the beach is amazing. No. Tourism is not up. It's another lie that you are telling your gullible base. Okay? So just keep that in mind as you are, not fighting for parking in various places. Haven't seen Rusty in a while. So just keep that in mind. Everybody, please keep tapping and sharing. We should easily be at 200K by now. Good morning, brother. How are you?
I just have one question.
Okay.
Who the fuck is buying 30 dolls?
Well, you're a girl dad. There was probably quite a few varieties. There was probably quite a few varieties of things in your house when your daughter was little.
Yeah, but no one at one time, because that was the implication.
Correct.
That is buying. Well, there is one person, and that's that creepy white Republican dude who has his own doll collection. That's the guy who buys $30 at a time.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't want to know what's in your closet, but I'm just saying the reference was to like Barbie type dolls, I'm assuming. Yes.
Yeah, I just, wow. Just wow. I mean,
yep.
And yeah, when he says tourism is up, he's talking to people who don't travel.
Yeah, people who've not left their state. People, listen, there's a large, first of all, there's a large chunk of Americans, right, left, independent, doesn't matter, have not left the country. And I would really encourage you, if you have a way to do that, to go see other places in the world. You can see how societies function with universal health care, for example, or just see how things that we have here that we pay a ridiculous amount of money for here. And you get the same things in other parts of the world. I know money's tight and I get that. I'm just saying, if you have a chance to go do that. But on the bigger side, there's people that have not left their town, their city, their state, and
have opinions on
tourism.
Yeah, and have opinions on world trade.
Yeah.
Have opinions on people from other states, cities, countries. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I know.
Oh, God, and it just...
I know.
Damn it, Steve, my brain hurts now. I just got up, dude.
Sorry, buddy. Sorry. I know, it's early.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but I'm not. There's 30 Legos. Sure, we have a massive box of Legos in our house for sure, but not $30. But again, I think the whole point of that was like, do we really want a billionaire telling American consumers that you shouldn't be able to buy what you want? That sounds like Herr Bürgermeister from Santa Claus is Coming to Town.
Well,
a choo-choo train?
Do we not remember from just 5 months ago that video of that billionaire Trump supporter at Christmas saying, "You poor fuckers, you don't have a tree like this. Look at all these this is the way to live," and criticizing people who aren't billionaires, who do buy $30 at a time and have hundreds of presents under the tree. And these mouth breathers are going to just say, "Oh, well, we're going to listen to them because it's that myth. One day we'll be rich too."
That's it. The temporary millionaires. I forget what that quote is, but you're absolutely right. Pick me. I'm next.
Oh yeah, they're the Trump supporters are all a bunch of little pick me girls.
Exactly. Well, get out there and do the battle today. Make sure that you earn enough money in your woke liberal jobs that you can buy $30 too. Please get out there and do the work. Man.
Oh, I was in a live last night and started to turn a MAGA.
And turn him into what?
Well, he's in the beginnings.
Gotcha.
Well, yeah, he's in the beginnings of deconstruction, and deconstruction is a painful process. So he kept reverting back to the old standard statements. But one of the things he implied in his conversation is that he works hard, we don't. And I lit him on fire. It's like, good. Dude, I have been, I'm older than you by like a mile. I have been working since I was 9 or 10 years old. Screw you. Just no.
Same.
That's not how this works. And he started to backpedal. And and then began to realize, and then he threw out a non-apology apology. I ate him for that. And he began to realize, oh, wait, I'm really saying atrocious stuff. And started apologizing to everybody in the room. It's like, okay.
Good. Progress.
We're one step, and there is no forgiveness in my heart because you're not doing anything to make up for your mistake. You're acknowledging the mistake of voting, but you're not doing anything to make up for it. Time to, strap in. So
that's right. Strap in.
Yeah, one step at a time.
You said strap in. Got it.
Yeah, I did say strap in because he was.
I just want to make sure I heard that properly.
Yeah, he wasn't worthy of the strap on. Yeah,
got it.
So
got it. Thank you. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Thanks for being here, buddy. Get out there and have a good day. See you later. All right, bye. Yeah. Okay. So again, we as American consumers have, we're entitled. We don't want things. We don't want to wait. We want to buy what we want to buy. We're going to get cranky when you go to the shelves and the items there that you are accustomed to buying and purchasing and having at your fingertips are not going to be there anymore. They're going to be gone, or they're going to be overpriced. And then you're going to look for somebody to blame, and you're going to blame Joe Biden because that's what you're told to blame. The sound that we played a little while ago, I think, about justices, about how going after just judges that don't agree with me. Remember that whole you guys were there for that sound. Well, I just want to remind people. I'm playing the sound, so I'm sorry if you don't like the voice, but I'm doing it because I like it. And this is what we're talking about in regards to his response to judges and law firms who just don't rule in his favor. Okay.
We need courageous justice in all caps in our country. If the courts don't allow what we have been allowed to do for 250 years, America can no longer be the same. Crooked Joe Biden will have destroyed our country with his, all caps, open border madness and allowing criminals of every type to enter with no retribution. Murderers, drug dealers, gang members, and even the mentally insane will make their home in our country, wreaking havoc like we've never seen before. And it is not possible to have trials for millions and millions of people. We know who the criminals are. You, me, and we must get them out of the USA. And fast, in all caps.
Telling on himself once again. Yeah. Again, the difference between Trump now and the difference between Trump in 2016, 17, 18, 19 is glaringly obvious if you pay attention. It's not about Trump derangement syndrome. We get accused oftentimes on the left. Why do you guys always talk about Trump? Well, it's because he's the president. And this is a I'm a political content creator. MAGA gentlemen who are in here who are already trolling. I know why you're here, because I'm devilishly handsome, charming, smart, and you love me. And also very humble. The reason we talk about Trump is because we don't have Trump derangement syndrome. We talk about him because he's the president. It's not our fault that he's a fucknut. The difference between Trump then and Trump now is that he can't keep his lies straight. So it's one number one day. It's a different number the next day. It's a made up story here. It's a made up story there. The lies are just as bad, but now there's just more evidence of how he's just lost his shit. Yeah, it's also not my fault he's a president. Thank you for that, Anachronista. Yeah, it's not my fault. I didn't vote for him. You did. So we're going to call it out. So again, when you see these things like lawfare and all this bullshit, we know where it comes from because he's so insecure. Okay, here's some more sound from recent interviews with him. And I'm going to get back to our malicious compliance conversation in just a second, but the economic report that came out the other day, yesterday, was devastatingly bad news for this model. So listen to him try to spin it. He does not know what the fuck he's talking about, which we know from just watching him and listening to him, but you can just hear it in his own words.
Some numbers today, and I have to start off by saying that's Biden.
What about Biden? What about Biden?
It's not Trump, because we came in on January, this is the quarterly numbers, and we came in and I was very against everything that Biden was doing in terms of the economy, destroying our country.
What?
In so many ways, not only at the border was more obvious, but we took over his mess in so many different ways.
Oh, okay.
Core GDP, removing distortions from imports, inventories, and government spending, was up plus 3% when you add it. We had numbers that despite what we were handed, we turned them around, and we were getting them really turned around.
What?
gross domestic investment was a whopping 22%.
What?
Now, that is a number that people are coming in at numbers. For instance, I just walked in, I heard Samsung is now, because of the tariffs, they're going to build massive facilities in the United States. If we didn't do the tariffs, they wouldn't be doing that. So it takes a little while to get.
It's Samsung. It's not some dude named Samsung. It's Sam. Exactly. Thank you, Pac-Man. I listened to the sound and I just picked up on that again. There's no guy named Samsung. It's Samsung. Cool.
Get those facilities built, but they're coming in with big numbers. They're all coming in with big numbers. We have more money being spent than at any time in the history of our country. We're up to close to $8 trillion, I think I can say.
Yeah.
And really, it's going to be a lot higher than that. Those are just the ones that we know about. $8 trillion.
Right, $8 trillion.
I'm not going to say, but I'm not sure if Biden did $1 trillion for 4 years, $1 trillion.
What?
But we're at $8 trillion for 2 months, because let's give us a pass on the first month.
Okay.
We were sort of getting a little bit used to
$8 trillion in what? Like in what?
Things, right? But after 2 months, we have $8 trillion. There's never been a number like that.
Never.
And that includes chip companies, car companies,
totally,
every form of manufacturing, high-tech companies.
All of it, yeah.
Nobody's ever seen anything like it.
Nobody's ever seen anything like
it.
$8 trillion. Somebody asked to play that again because I want to hear the Samsung part again.
You probably saw some numbers today. And I have to start off by saying that's Biden. That's not Trump, because we came in on January. This is quarterly numbers. And we came in and I was very against everything that Biden was doing in terms of the economy, destroying our country in so many ways. Not only at the border was more obvious. But we took over his mess in so many different ways. Core GDP, removing distortions from imports, inventories, and government spending, was up plus 3% when you add it. We had numbers that, despite what we were handed, we turned them around, and we were getting them really turned around.
Okay.
Gross domestic investment was a whopping 22%.
Okay.
Now, that is a number that people are coming in at numbers. For instance, I just walked in, I heard Samsung.
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
Oh, my God. Oh, man. Oh, okay. The U.S. economy. I'm going to compose myself. 1 second, Obi. I'll bring you. Oh my God! What did Sam sing? What did Sam sing? One more time, you guys. I'm sorry. One more time. I'm sorry. Just one more time.
Start off by saying that's Biden. That's not Trump, because we came in on January. This is quarterly numbers. And we came in and I was very against everything that Biden was doing in terms of the economy, destroying our country in so many ways. Not only at the border was more obvious, but we took over his mess in so many different ways. Core GDP, removing distortions from imports, inventories, and government spending, was up plus 3% when you add it. We had numbers that, despite what we were handed, we turned them around, and we were getting them really turned around. Gross domestic investment was a whopping 22%. Now, that is a number that people are coming in at numbers. For instance, I just walked in, I heard Samsung.
I gotta stop playing or I'm not gonna get through this show. Somebody said Samsung is friends with Nokia. Samsung and Apple hang out a lot. Oh my God. Holy shit. Oh, damn. I'm sorry. I'm totally sorry, but that was fucking funny. I didn't even really pick up on it the first time. Yeah. Okay.
So Mr. Samsung and Mr. Tim Apple walk into a bar.
What did Sam sing, Obi? What did Sam sing?
Raindrops keep falling on my head.
When a man loves a woman. Well, that's Sam Cooke, right? There you go.
Yes.
Anyway. Okay.
Okay.
How are you today, buddy?
I understand that math is hard for some people.
Oh, God.
I understand that some people can't.
Before you go there, let me just read the Let me just read the text of this, and we can talk about it on the other side.
Okay.
The U.S. economy shrank in the first quarter of 2025, contracting at an annualized rate of 0.3% in the first GDP report of the second Trump administration. It's the first contraction in 3 years, and comes as tariff-related uncertainty has changed spending patterns and raised fears of a recession. President Trump on Wednesday pinned the blame on President Biden, saying he needed a pass on the first month because they were getting used to things. You probably saw some numbers today, and I have to start out by saying that's Biden, that's not Trump. We came in January. These are quarterly numbers. I was very against everything that Biden was doing in terms of the economy, destroying our country in so many ways. The stock market has also taken a beating since President Trump took office, largely fueled by trade uncertainty. His first 100 days in office were the worst of the stock market for the start of a president's four-year term since Richard Nixon in '73. On that front as well, President Trump blamed his predecessor and urged Americans to be patient. This is Biden's stock market, not Trump's. I didn't take over until January the 20th. Tariffs will soon start kicking in, and companies are starting to move into the U.S. in record numbers. Our country will boom, but we have to get rid of the Biden overhang. I have a feeling he means hangover, but said overhang. This will take a while, has nothing to do with tariffs, in all caps, only that he left us with bad numbers, but when the boom begins, it will be like no other. Be patient. On the other hand, inflation slowed sharply, and consumer spending did surge in March, according to the Personal Consumption Expenditures, or PCE, the Federal Reserve's preferred an inflation gauge. The PC index rose to an annualized rate of 2.3% in March, slower than February's 2.7 increase, due to falling energy costs as recession fears weigh down oil prices. Consumer spending rose 0.7% from February, the biggest monthly jump in more than 2 years as Americans rushed to buy products, particularly cars, ahead of the president's tariffs. Yeah, sorry. Just wanted to kind of get through that so we can put context, because Samsung has got some explaining to do. Just saying.
Well, he and Tim Apple have been in close negotiations over the last few months to settle their trade disputes. So it's super important that we keep these in mind.
So true.
And in light of Beau Biden, perhaps it is an overhang.
Okay. Hunter, but yes, I got your point.
Hunter, yes. Sorry.
Yes.
Especially when compared against a button mushroom.
That's true as well. That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Can I read something? Can I read something?
Please feel free.
In just about 3 months since President Donald Trump returned to the White House.
Hang on one second. I just got an email from our town. It looks like there may be an update on the power stuff. So I just want to go check outside where the guys are working. So you have the keys in the car, my friend. I'll be right back.
Okay. All right. So let me start at the top. This is from the Economic Times, dated April 5th, 2025. In just about 3 months since President Donald Trump returned to the White House, Wall Street has hemorrhaged a staggering $8 trillion in market value, a collapse that underscores the scale of economic turmoil unleashed by his aggressive trade policies. So if you're wondering where $8 trillion comes from, that's the first place $8 trillion comes from. So, no, there have not been any net new trade deals. And the other figure, around 8 trillion, most likely refers to the entire market value of trade. So, like everything globally, right? So, what we all know is that Donald Trump hears something, but he doesn't understand what he's hearing. So, Steve, whilst you were out looking at the linemen,
I'm good. They've extended. They said noon, so we have to be done by noon, or the power's going to get cut.
okay.
Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
So there are two figures around 8 trillion that I was explaining to our audience, and they probably fell asleep. So back in early April, it was reported by the Economic Times that Wall Street had lost 8 trillion in value since Trump. To calculate 8 trillion, the entire market across the globe would be 8 trillion. So it's not 8 trillion in new deals or new business or as a result of his tariffs. But this guy is so stupid. See, this is the thing when you asked earlier about why they can't pick a number, because he hears a number and he can't associate with what the subject was that the number was being discussed. So he just throws out numbers, right? And that's the problem. Is that who? And you've said this. Many people have said this. Whoever the last person is in the room, whatever that last thing was that he heard, he has so little random access memory available in that adult brain of his that he can only hold on to so much information, right? And it's about a
That's
sentence,
true.
right?
That's true.
So there is no 8 trillion, right? And how you know he's not sure when he says things like, "Oh, like no one's ever seen." Yes, that's true because it's
no
not
one's ever seen it.
possible. It's not possible
Exactly.
to see it, right?
Exactly.
If the entire global trade value, right, at any given time is 8 trillion, how is it that the United States has 8 trillion in new deals? Or that companies in the United States are generating 8 trillion?
Yeah, I know.
It's super fucking frustrating.
So just a little good news in this space. So you guys may or may not know of the story of Mohsen Madawi, Columbia student who was apprehended by ICE coming from his immigration hearing in Vermont. So he got released yesterday. He's out on bail. A judge ordered Columbia University student Mohsen Madawi to be released from federal immigration custody on Wednesday. 34 U.S. permanent resident who was born and raised in a refugee camp in the West Bank was detained April 14th by armed DHS agents during his naturalization interview in Vermont to become a U.S. citizen. Quote, "I am saying it clear and loud to President Trump and his cabinet. I am not afraid of you," Madawi said outside the courtroom. "What we are witnessing now and what we are understanding is exactly what Dr. Martin Luther King has said before. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." The Justice Department and the Department of Homeland Security did not immediately return requests for comment. Madawi has been held at an Immigration and Customs Enforcement Facility, the Northwest State Correctional Facility in St. Albans, Vermont. Since his arrest, Secretary of State Marco Rubio justified Madawi's detention, saying his presence and activities in the U.S. would have serious adverse foreign policy consequences and would compromise a compelling U.S. foreign policy interest. Madawi, who has a green card, was a key organizer of pro-Palestinian protests at Columbia last year. And I would like to say, that my representative, Rebecca Ballant, who was a fucking badass, was very instrumental in putting pressure on the administration and was there speaking on Mr. Madawi's behalf. So that's good news in a strange world that although he's out on bail and shouldn't have been arrested in the first place, at least he got released. So that's kind of cool.
For now, yeah. I mean, let's see what happens. And I honestly have zero faith that he's not going to get rounded up in the middle of the night and shipped somewhere.
Yeah, well, especially since he's coming out and saying, "I'm not afraid of you. Come for me. I don't give a shit. Come for me." Well, I feel the same way. I'm not afraid. Come for me.
I don't give a shit. I get that, but be careful.
Yeah,
because you can, and I mean this with all the love. You have privilege. You can say that. Right? I know that. He should have been advised not to say it. There's no need, whether you have the constitutional right or not, to poke this particular hornet's nest, given their propensity for clearly ignoring all laws and orders.
I'll disagree with you on that. I think each person's going to have to make their own decisions, and if he wants to come out and say something like that, I fully support it. And I think more people should say it. I really think more people should say it because again, it doesn't. I don't think it matters. I understand that. I understand that from your perspective, but in this person's case, it doesn't matter if you speak up or not. You're still getting rounded up. So why not use the platform, especially to remind others that, listen, this could happen to you. It happened to me. This could happen to you. And just because of where you are. So I encourage that. I encourage that kind of pushback. Because if they're going to come from anyway, then they're going to come for him. So he made that choice. Right? Okay. Let's see here. I want to talk about this a little bit because there's more of a hearing. I shouldn't say a hearing. This was the statement. He did this interview in Michigan. I'm not going to say an interview. It was his rally, so he can go to his safe space. So he doesn't have to answer reporter questions, so he can stand in front of his flock and just lie like crazy. So this was interesting, and we've got some data, of course, to contradict what he said. Shocker.
He proudly imposed a 25% tariff on all foreign automobiles, any foreign car, like they do, Tom. This is going to create more jobs in this state and this country, and to help these automakers bring their factories home as rapidly as possible, I've just signed an executive order to give partial tariff rebates to any company that assembles its cars right here in the U.S. In other words, if they can't make it in time because they have to do it here, otherwise they haven't, I'm giving them a little bit of a break, right? They took in parts from all over the world. I don't want that. I want them to make their parts here.
Well, they can't.
But I gave them a little bit of time. It's 15% and then 10% of the parts, so it's not so bad. Somebody would say, oh, well, that's a change in parts. It's not. It's called a little flexibility. The guys were crying. They love it. Everything's good. But just in case we can't get everything in time, we gave them a little bit. So it's 15% of the parts and then it's 10% of the parts. We give them a little time before we slaughter them if they don't do this. Right.
What?
They're going to make so much money. They're going to have so many jobs. We do a little trolling. It's called we do a little trolling.
So just as a reminder, the whole, what he's discussing there, and he alludes to the fact that all these auto manufacturers are just dying to bring their business back to the United States. Well, President Trump's tariffs just cost America a chunk of Canadian business. Subaru, which has sold 68,043 cars in Canada in 2024, is reshuffling its supply chain in response to escalating trade scuffles. The company sold over 17,700 American-built vehicles in Canada last year, making up 26% of its 2024 sales. The Japanese automaker's Canadian division will slash U.S. imports to just 10% by 2026 model year, representing thousands of cars and millions of dollars lost. The biggest impact will be on the American-built Outback. The popular car will no longer ship north after 2026. Instead, it will feature a Made in Japan badge. Subaru Canadian CEO Tomohiro Kubota said the move will minimize the impact of the counter surtax. For Subaru, it's cheaper to build and ship cars out of Japan than deal with the political whiplash of U.S. trade policy. The Japan-based manufacturer already has plans in its home country where it supplied Canadian dealerships with high-selling Crosstreks and Crosstreks. I have a Crosstrek and Forester SUVs. Subaru didn't say if its adjustments will facilitate any production or job changes in Indiana. Previously, the company said the plant will begin assembling the Forester, one of its American best sellers, later this year. It's unclear if any of those units will end up crossing the border. At this year's New York International Auto Show, the company CEO, Tatsushi Osaki, said the brand is committed to staying in the U.S. market. We are dedicated to offering our American customers a wide range of options to meet their evolving needs. Subaru declined comment. At the heart of Subaru's shift, 25% import tax that Trump imposed earlier this year on vehicles from nearly every country, including Canada. So that's a real-time impact. And that is a direct contradiction. That's a direct contradiction to what he literally just said when he's speaking to Michigan, which, by the way, is where the majority of cars are assembled in our country.
Yeah, where are they going to get all of the parts that are literally only made in Japan?
They can't.
All of the electronics are not made here, and they haven't been made here since the 80s.
Francis for the win. Did he mean Subaru?
Oh, nice.
Yes, win for win.
Mr. Samsung, Ms. Sam Baru, and Mr. Tim Apple walk into a bar.
Yep, exactly. Sue Baru. Not just the parts to assemble gasoline powered engines, but everything required as the industry shifts, and the United States is well behind when it comes to hybrids and or EVs. We don't have the shit here. We don't have the minerals here. I'll be here all week. Tip your weights down. We don't have that. Try the veal. We don't have that here. Hit the wrong button. We don't have the necessary materials and or raw materials, which if you think about the minerals deal that was just signed with Ukraine, and I want to talk about that a second. It's a good segue, but we don't have any of the materials necessary to invest in the EV auto industry, which, by the way, if we don't, China will continue to kick our ass. So there's that. And then in regards to that minerals deal that was just signed with Ukraine, think about this for a second, friends. Okay? Think about this. United States signs this minerals deal with Ukraine. I don't know what the basis of the deal is. I don't know if it's concessions made by President Zelensky and their commerce team to say, we'll sign this as long as you guarantee to continue to support our efforts. Now, I would like to think, since there is an actual now investment, not just support for Ukraine, which is going to blow MAGA's minds, because not only are we continuing to support Ukraine, but we're now investing in Ukraine, but there's Nazis there, and the government of Ukraine is corrupt. That's what MAGA's been telling us for the past 4 years, but now apparently not, because Trump told them it's okay because we're now investing in Ukraine. Different conversation. Non sequitur. Squirrel. Anywho, if we've now made this massive investment in Ukraine by agreeing to have this mineral deal, then wouldn't the next phone call be to your boy, Vladdy? Hey, Vlad, listen, we just signed this deal, so you got to pull your troops out. No, Donald, not the deal we made. Remember, I have access to PP tape. I have more nude pictures of Melania in compromising positions, compromat. And we will make sure they go public. So appreciate the fact that you signed deal, but no deal stop us from doing what we want, because I've got shit on you. Where or when should we expect those conversations to put pressure on Russia from withdrawing from the country? Because you can't really access the minerals that you just, signed a deal to get if there's a war still happening, right?
Yeah.
Logic would tell you that, wouldn't it? So,
I mean,
Thank you. Yeah.
Why are you bringing logic into this? Shame on you.
I know, right? And then, so again, more of the impact of the auto deal, because as I was just talking about, there's materials that we just cannot get here. So where are we going to start seeing some of these solutions? Wait, you don't just work around. Yeah, work around. That's right. Just work around the war. Okay, incoming. It's almost like Wayne and Garth from Wayne's World. Car, game on, missile, bomb. Okay, we can start tapping again for rare earth minerals. But no, that's just That just makes too much sense. Okay, a couple more things that I want to get to. This is specific in regards to the indoctrination of Trump voters. The reason I play this stuff, guys, is I think it's important that we start connecting the dots. I know we talk about these things like in vacuums and in silos individually, why they speak these things, but when I play some of the sound that Trump says, that it's, temporary hurt, just bumps in the road, that's what his voters are now saying as well. Just think about this shift, right? There's I don't know if you guys watch Destiny. I have issues with Destiny. I think he's got a lot of microaggressions, and I think there's a lot of racism and anti-Semitism in the way he speaks. Been watching him for a while. But he gets to go into these places, and he has these conversations with Trump voters, and the Trump voters are outmatched. There's just no way. Destiny's a very smart guy, but they're just outmatched. So when he confronts them on certain things, their answers just follow the script. It doesn't matter what they wanted when they voted. It matters what's happening right now. So he'll ask them questions like, why did you vote for Trump? I voted for them because, I knew he's going to do a better job with the economy, no new wars, and close the border. Okay, so here we are now. Your prices are going up, and he's threatening to annex countries. He's threatening to take over Panama. The war hasn't ended in Ukraine. Well, it's part of his plan. Okay, sure, no problem. So this is some sound from other Trump voters, and this is the fight that we are up against. This, again, is in respect to Trump's first 100 days.
For one, the border, I know people talk about that a lot, but it's just of how big of a problem it was. We have millions of people coming in illegally, which it can't happen. If I went to a country and I just hopped over their border, they'd handcuff me and ship me right. I'd probably get in trouble. It used to be the same here.
I think a lot is doing with the border and the immigration and getting them out, the illegal immigrants. So, and if he's allowed to continue doing his job and being stopped by all the people that are trying to stop him from doing what he needs to do, it'll even be more so. But he's a fighter. He's not going to give up. He's not going to back down. And that's why we love him.
It's just turning around the vibes, I would say. We're hopeful again. I would think so. Before it was doom and gloom. I mean, one side feels that way now, but it felt like before the whole place felt like that.
I mentioned this a little bit a couple days ago when the safe space for Trump, the safe space for members of Congress that support him, whether it be Mike Johnson or John Thune in the Senate or his supporters or the right-wing spaces, when they're pressed on economic issues, their safe space is to talk about immigration. That's where they go every single time. So here's a thought experiment for you. When you're out listening or you're seeing interviews with him, or when you're seeing, the right-wing spaces, people like Jesse Waters, whatever else, when pressed to address the economy, because we see what we see, right? We see the stock market cratering. We see we see the contraction of the GDP. We see the economy under threat. We're talking talks of recession. They don't want to discuss it, so they'll immediately pivot to the border, which is why I played that sound from John Thune yesterday when he talked about promises made, promises kept. Remember, you need to keep this on your radar. Promises made, promises kept. You're going to be hearing that for the next week or more. He tried to let me just play the sound, as I think this is really relevant right now, just because of how the Trump administration and Trump in particular is trying to navigate through what we see is an obvious, our economy's under threat. I don't know how better to say it than that, but it's the way in which they do it to kind of keep their voters distracted. It's not just about the chaos. It's not just about the velocity of information and how fast it's coming at us. It's not just a matter of how manipulative right-wing media is in an attempt to indoctrinate the voters. It's the way in which they say it too. So let me find this sound because I think it's really, really important. Everybody, please keep tapping and sharing. Please make sure Obi's not sitting at 0 coins. That's embarrassing. At least somebody sent him a rose or something. He's going to have a complex by the end of the show. Where is it? Do I have that still? I think I do. Sorry. I just want to play this because I think it's really, really important. And I think this speaks exactly to what we're talking about. Okay, this is John Thune, a Republican Majority Leader, Senator from South Dakota, who I had hope for, right? I kind of did. I saw him as somebody who, yes, he's going to try to abide by Republican policies, but I saw him as part of the resistance. So this is what he said in celebration of the 100 days. What I want you to listen for is when he starts to talk about promises made and promises kept, how quickly he pivots.
Today marks the 100th day of the Trump presidency, and I think it has been a very historic 100 days. And in my view, you could be described as promises made and promises kept. And if you look right across the board, all the things the president campaigned on, said he was going to do, he is following through on those.
Okay, all the things the president promised he was going to do, he's done. He promised to lower inflation. He promised to end the war in Ukraine. He promised, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We know that, okay? So he spent, well, like 7 seconds on that?
Chief among those is what's happening at our southern border.
And there you go.
The open borders policy that had been pursued by the Biden administration had led to all kinds of chaos at our southern border, lots of dangerous elements coming into the United States, and about, if you can believe this, 12,000 or so people per day coming across our southern border illegally. 12,000. You have a change of administration. President Trump takes office. That number plummets from 12,000 down to 230 a day. That's what we're looking at right now. And if you look at a year ago where we were, January, February, March, April, and those numbers, it's just as I described it. It's about a 94, 95% drop in 1 year, thanks to the leadership of President Trump. And so as we think about what we need to do to support those efforts, obviously we are involved, as you all know, in a process up here. First step was budget resolution, which passed the House and the Senate before the Easter break. And now
play now, right? That's the game. As vile, and thank you, Republican legislation is, they are always on message. So promises made, promises kept, although it's promises made, promises broken. And it's every chance they get, they're immediately going to pivot to the border because that's their cover, right? It's like, in college, we used to have this expression, cover it with a blanket and call it furniture. Sure, you got a bunch of shit in the floor, just throw a blanket over it and nobody will notice. In this case, they don't want to talk about their policies and how not only anti-constitution they are, but how they're violating human rights, et cetera, but how they're crashing the economy. They can't talk about that. Doesn't look good. So let's pivot to the border. And then that sound that I just played, every single one of those people discuss the border. Every single one of them.
Right.
Oh yeah, the tariffs, they don't concern me. Psh, nothing, I don't worry about it. But let's talk about the border. Let's talk about arresting people. Let's talk about locking up the criminals. Blah, 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 blah. It's a tactic. It's effective.
And
it works.
Maybe we should talk about the numbers.
Yeah.
So,
before you do that, somebody just asked, I did not see Kamala Harris's speech last night. I've heard good things, but I'll try to get the sound today and then I'll play some of it tomorrow. Sorry, Obi, go ahead.
So they're always, let's be super clear. They're only speaking about encounters. Mm-hmm. They're never not speaking about encounters. So if the GOP is talking about numbers at the border, they talk about encounters because that's always the larger number versus those allowed to seek asylum, which is a very small number, right? So we also know that in the winter, numbers go down.
Yeah.
So total encounters for 2024. Total encounters for 2024. And I get this from cbp.gov. 2,135,000. 2,135,000 encounters. So 135,000 encounters. So, can someone explain to me that loves maths, and it's plural because there's more than one math discipline? Can someone please explain to me how if the total encounters, which is always the larger number, that means bigger, kind of, can you have more than 15 million, 10 into the United States than encounters? Can anyone please explain that to me?
There is no explanation other than they like to try to say that during the Biden administration, it was 20 million people that they let in.
Okay, so let's 2022, 2023, 2024. So 2, 4, 6. We'll call that 7.3 million between 2022 and 2024. That still isn't a total of 20 million. It's not even close. So again, I'm trying to figure out why people keep believing their bullshit. And it's because MAGA is dumb and MAGA men are soft and weak and live in fear as a mask to their racism and bigotry.
Indeed. That's the entire purpose of using the constant pivot to the border, and that they can avoid every single. It's about the economy. It's the economy, stupid. Every election, everyone is about the economy. At the end of the day, people say that, yeah, well, this and that. It's about reproductive rights, and it's about whatever it might be, which are all very, very valid. But at the end of the day, the sentiment generally falls to the economy, and the right has been able to do an amazing job. Again, I'm going to look at this objectively. The right's been able to do an amazing job conditioning their voters to say that whatever the president tells you or Trump tells you as a candidate, believe it. He's going to tell you the economy's in the shitter. He's going to tell you this. He's going to tell you that. Now, we know from the macro level, there wasn't a country in the world that would not have wanted the U.S. economy post-COVID. At the micro level, we know that things are more expensive. That's what happens in capitalism, right? We certainly know that prices went up post-COVID, supply chain, government spending, whatever you want to call it. We know the factors. But here we are now. We are now expected to believe that the demise of the stock market under the current conditions is because of Biden. Well, no, because we can literally point to the first days of tariff talks. We can see the stock market go boop.
Yeah.
And then
also,
don't forget, all that money was transferred, not gone, just went to the people who've got money, because capitalists make money in capitalism. And the only people who stand to make money when the market dips are the people with capital, period.
Right.
So they don't want to talk about it because they've created this situation themselves.
And every single economist, even conservative ones, they all point to the mishandling of the tariffs and the lack of clear direction from the White House as to the reason for the disruption. No one argues that point except for the White House itself. God forbid.
Exactly.
And wasn't there a, dang it, I was reading some article where Trump, I think it was his town hall. I don't know if you covered this. In his town hall yesterday or the day before, they were asked about his first 100 days, and he made some statement akin to, well, I don't believe I've made any mistakes over the last 100 days, and the audience laughed.
I think I saw that. They were like, what are you talking about? Of course not, because you can't admit to anything. So it's a perfect example of the sound that we played specific to the stock market. He's not going to he bragged about the stock market being up because of him. This is the Truth Social post that he made about that topic. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can find that. I think I have it right here. He's the guy that talked about it. He's the dude that said, well, the market's going to go up because of me. I'm the reason. This is the Trump stock market because my polls against Biden are so good that investors are projecting that I will win, and that will drive the market up. Everything else is terrible. Watch the Middle East. And record-setting inflation has already taken its toll. Make America great again. And then now, after his first 100 days, not me, got nothing to do with me. So to square that in the mind of the voter, you can't talk about it. So you shift the conversation from the economy to the border. All right, I want to play some other sound because this is disturbing. There was a vote last night in Congress. Republicans vote against a move to Republicans voted against a move to stop ICE from deporting U.S. citizens. This is reported by Newsweek. House Republicans have voted down an effort to block immigration enforcers from using federal resources to detain or deport U.S. citizens. You heard that right. During a Judiciary Committee meeting on Wednesday, Democrats tabled amendments to a sweeping budget bill that President Trump has dubbed One Big Beautiful Bill. One amendment introduced by Representative Pramila Jayapal, the Democrat from Washington State, sought to make clear immigration and customs enforcement cannot detain or deport U.S. citizens under any circumstance. I'm going to put this in the mod chat. I'll finish in a second. It continues. However, GOP lawmakers killed the amendment. The fact that Democrats and my colleague, Representative Jayapal, feel the need to even introduce an amendment that says ICE cannot deport U.S. citizens is batshit crazy, said Ted Lieu, Democrat from California. And also said, quote, "It is not even a question. U.S. citizens cannot be deported by ICE. It's the law. It's the Constitution." So remember, what we were told during the campaign is that only criminals. We're going after criminals. Well, in that ABC interview, when pressed, the president said, well, they didn't get due process when they crossed the border. Yes, they actually did. That's what immigration hearings are for. In our country, we have these things called laws, and we have this thing called the Constitution that guarantees due process rights for everyone. Now, the right likes to imply, again, based on language, that if you're here illegally, you're not entitled to due process. Constitution disagrees. Any person, Constitution is beautiful in this regard, is that it makes clear distinctions between what's a citizen and what's a person, but yet all persons are protected under it. So Donald Trump couldn't even answer the question when asked. Oh, we don't have time for 21 million hearings. First of all, it's not 21 million. We do. We have to make the time because we have laws. And now Republicans in Congress are unwilling to support language in an amendment that guarantees that ICE will not deport U.S. citizens. This is a dictatorship. Like we talked yesterday about how we're talking about stop normalizing fascism. Well, we're already here. This is what dictators do. You suppress the opposition. You lock up the opposition. The opposition in this case, in theory, could be U.S. citizens. I would be considered opposition. Obi would be considered opposition. What the Republicans in Congress are saying, well, we're not going to include language. We're not going to include language that's going to prevent ICE from locking up and deporting U.S. citizens. That's crazy. It's crazy. So let's listen to Mike Johnson. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, on its face, it's already unconstitutional. And really quick, normally, apparently, my stuff sits behind a paywall. So for the mods in the mod chat, and I don't know how you could parse it out to the general chat. Maybe I can try, but I sent a Bloomberg article that breaks down the approximate cost and measures the difference between ICE activity from Obama to Trump now. So I will see if I can also get that for free and put that in the general chat. But it would be really interesting, Steve, for you to get in there and parse that out as a way to provide some clarity there. I will do because that. we need more sunlight.
We do need more sunlight. This is that quote that I was looking for. Thank you, Legend. This is from John Steinbeck. Socialism never took root in America because the poor there see themselves not as exploited proletariat, but as temporarily embarrassed millionaires. Thank you, Legend. That's why you're a legend. Okay, so Mike Johnson was interviewed specifically regarding the 100 days. And don't forget, Mike Johnson is the Speaker of the House and represents one of the poorest states in our country, one of the states that has some of the highest incidences of infant mortality, maternal mortality, kids living below the poverty line, underfunded public schools that fail the education system. So he represents one of the poorest and most longest suffering states in our nation. And Trump's tariff policies are going to impact, obviously, marginalized communities, but his state in typical, more so than most others. Okay? So this is what he had to say. And again, the words matter. So listen to what Mike Johnson had to say about Trump and Congress's role in executing and or reining in the executive.
You would agree that you clawed your way to power?
Not at all.
No. You agree that you've fought back challenges?
Yeah, certainly fought back challenges, I guess. I mean, we get up and there are challenges every day. But
would you agree that you're at the pinnacle of your power?
I don't know. I don't really think about it that way.
Well, let me ask you sort of entirely so you see where I'm going with this, the big windup. You've ceded a lot of authority to the president, a lot of constitutional authority to the president. Article 1 powers on tariffs. You've said you're going to give the president space on tariffs.
Yeah.
How much time are you going to give him?
Well, I mean, I don't know that there's a specific timeline. Look, I'm a constitutional law attorney. I'm a jealous guardian of Article 1 power and the separation of powers and constitutional balance. But whomever is the president of whatever party, they do have a broad degree of latitude, for example, to deal with unfair trade partners and trade practices. And that's what he's doing. I mean, what are we, about 3 weeks into the tariff policy of this new administration? I don't think it's appropriate for Congress to jump in the middle of that and try to legislate. I think the executive has a broad array of authority that's been recognized over the years. If it gets close to where the imbalance is there, then we would step in. And but I think the first protocol, to be very frank, is I would call the president and talk with him about that and tell him our concerns. But right now, I think ultimately this policy is going to achieve the desired outcome, and it's going to be good for the country.
Okay, so interesting what he said there. He's like, I don't think we should be interfering. Okay, well, then he has to explain this.
On tariffs. Now you've done the same to prevent resolutions of inquiry, including this probe into Pete Hegseth and Zisa Signal. Why are you using the rules of the House to effectively protect Trump rather than let the House work its work?
No, we're using the rules of the House to prevent political hijinks and political stunts, and that's what the Democrats have. As I mentioned, no leader, no vision, no platform. All they have is obstruction. They're trying to target 8 years. They use lawfare, they theories, all these political make his life miserable. That's not what the American people voted for. That's not what they deserve. We can do better. So we're preventing this nonsensical waste of our time.
We're preventing Congress from doing its job. As a reminder, Article 1, Section 1 of the Constitution. We talked about this last week, right? Yeah, thank you very much. Remember, we said when the Constitution was formed, they established how government would function first, and then what our rights are. And they chose to outline the role of the legislative body first because it is the most important and ultimately the most powerful in our system of government. Article 1, Section 1. All legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and a House of Representatives. The House shall be composed of members chosen every second year by the people of several states, and the electors in each state shall have the qualifications requisite for electors of the most numerous branch of the state legislature. No person shall be a representative who shall not have attained the age of 25 years and be 7 years a citizen of the U.S., and who shall not, when elected, be an inhabitant of the state in which he or he shall be chosen. Representatives and direct taxes shall be apportioned among the several states which may be included within this union according to their respective numbers, which shall be determined by adding the whole number of free persons, including those bound to service for terms. In summary, Congress is the body that controls taxation. Imports, tariffs are taxes. Okay? The Speaker of the House is basically saying to you, because he knows many of you won't read it like we do, that we're not going to get in the way. We're going to give the power to the executive. We don't want to question it. We don't want to challenge it. Instead, Mike Johnson will use rhetoric that the Democrats are attempting to obstruct. The Democrats are reminding Speaker Johnson that actually we are the ones that are responsible for oversight over the executive branch. Not only that, but we have the power, according to the Constitution, Mike, that you claim to love so much, that you claim to be an ardent defender, a jealous defender of Article 1 powers, that we can tell the executive that your tariffs have gone too far. He hasn't done it. They won't do it. They won't touch it. The good news, if there is any in this regard, is that members of the Senate, again, have sort of stepped in. So the Senate is poised to again reject Trump's tariffs. Republican senators confirmed they will vote to disapprove the president's sweeping Liberation Day levies. This came out yesterday afternoon. This is reported by Politico. The Senate appears on track to once again reject tariffs imposed by President Trump in his sweeping agenda, with several key Republican senators confirming they will vote. Yeah, I don't know the vote yet. I'm assuming it happened last night, but I'm assuming it went through. That they will vote to overturn his sweeping use of executive powers to impose a 10% global levy. Susan Collins of Maine, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska indicated that they would support a disapproval resolution despite efforts by leadership and by the administration to soothe concerns. They join Rand Paul and Mitch McConnell. Those four people.
Pass.
It didn't pass.
49 to 49 because
that means two people didn't vote.
Well, no. Hold on. This is important. Sheldon was coming back from a global conference and Mitch McConnell was somewhere. So both of them weren't even in Washington, D.C. to vote. So,
okay.
So it would have passed. And I believe they did the vote knowing that Mitch and Sheldon were not available or even in Washington, D.C., and that's why they held the vote when they did.
Yeah, that's politics for you. So, you're starting to see some
executive actions.
We're starting to see some kinks in the armor. We're starting to see a lot of resistance, but I think it's really, really important that people remember who Mike Johnson is, or his claim. He is a constitutional lawyer. That's how he built his career. He's not a stupid man. He's a smart guy. Ivy League educated. He's not dumb. I don't know if he went to the Ivy League, but a prestigious college and university without question in our country. Telling the American people that, sure, we'll just, we don't want to get in the way. We're not going to allow Congress to get in the way. Meanwhile, basically attempting to change the rules as you're you're driving the train as you're building it, telling Democrats that you can't use the power of Congress because it might piss off the orange guy. And then if you do, that means we're not going to be able to pass it. And if you do, and we're not be able to pass it, then he's going to blame us. And then somebody's going to bring up a motion to vacate against me. And then I won't have a career anymore because nobody likes me. And then I can go back to monitoring my son's corn like he's monitoring. More potential good news. Who is absolutely see her in the Senate someday, or perhaps even in bigger office. This was her response to...
Welcome to the first 100 days of Donald Trump's failed attempt to remake American society, which has been an absolute and total unmitigated disaster. And I'll build on what was said just a moment ago. Not only was this how to destroy the world's greatest economy in 100 days, I will say it was how to destroy the world's greatest democracy, its economy, and its world standing in 100 days, because that is exactly what Donald Trump has done over the last 3.5 months. Now, let's make something very clear. Donald Trump, Elon Musk, Doge, these billionaires who are serving in the cabinet around him are not here to make American life better. They are here to steal from us. They are here to remake American society in their image, and they are here to take over our government and dismantle it from within. Over the last 100 days, they have literally fired tens of thousands of Americans. They have signed hundreds of executive orders and taken hundreds of executive actions, resulting in mass firings, dismantling of agencies, data mining of your sensitive data, hurting writers, veterans, and all dealing, giving themselves contracts, Elon Musk taking off with literally billions of dollars in his pocket in new contracts. Now, is it any question that any of this is historically unpopular with the American people? In fact, the polling as of this week shows that almost 2/3 of Americans believe that they are doing a terrible job, whether that's Elon Musk or Doge or what Donald Trump is doing with the economy and his tariffs and immigration. The American people are speaking loud and clear. They do not want what Donald Trump is serving. So, I am here to join the American people in saying enough is enough, enough with the lies, enough with the secrecy, enough with the grift, fraud, waste, and abuse. Hands off our Social Security, hands off our veterans, hands off our communities, hands off our Medicaid, hands off the vital housing and food assistance programs that our communities depend on, and hands off our environment. We will not stand for this. As progressives, as the Progressive Caucus, we call on the American people to join us, to continue to speak up, speak out, keep marching, keep showing up, keep calling Republican offices, keep organizing, because we will take back our democracy, because we will make sure that our colleagues across the aisle stand up and are held accountable, and we will take back this House in the midterms and restore the sanity and democracy of this country.
More of that, please. More of that, please. I really, really like her. I really, really respect her tremendously, and I'd like to hear more from her. So, again, that's Melanie Stansbury for those of you who are just joining. All right. Everybody, please keep tapping and sharing. I want a quick thank you to, let's see. Thank you to Richard, just because, for your kind contribution on Cash App. I appreciate you, friend. If you all would like to contribute to the Let's Get Erica an Elaborate Gift Fund, you could do so. Cash App, Venmo, PayPal are all Facts Still Matter. I appreciate you all. Okay, a couple more things I wanted to cover off on. Let me see if I can find it. I played that. Okay, so another part of this one's fun again. You guys will laugh. This is along the lines of Samsung. Trump, in case you guys did not know, there is he had asked that the Declaration of Independence be hung in the Oval Office, and it's behind a curtain. And I am convinced that he thinks it's the actual one. I genuinely believe that he thinks it is the actual Declaration of Independence. Well, he was giving the reporter who interviewed him for ABC News a tour, and they were talking about it. And I just would like you to hear what the President of the United States has to say when asked about said document.
Declaration of Independence.
What does it mean to you?
Well, it means exactly what it says. It's a declaration. It's a declaration of unity and love and respect, and it means a lot. And it's something very special to our country.
Can you play that? Play that again. I'm trying to actively listen. Just please one more time. That was fucking difficult.
Sure.
The Declaration of Independence.
What does it mean to you?
What it says, it's a declaration of respect, and it means a lot, and it's something very special to our country.
The Declaration of Independence. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Was he talking about the Summer of Love or the Declaration of Independence?
I don't know what he's talking about, but the Declaration of Independence is basically an article of war.
Yeah.
It's not about peace and love, bro. Peace and love. Peace and love.
Fucking God.
Now, again, I know that I've got my MAGA fanboys in here. Kisses, love you. I would like you to explain that. Do you know what the Declaration of Independence is? Do you know? Here's a little quiz for you guys. Nobody look it up. Obi, I know you have your computer in front of you. I'll trust you. Do you guys know how the Declaration of Independence begins? Anybody want to take a guess as to what the first few words are? Anybody? Does anybody know? Let's see how. Again, you guys are the smartest chat on TikTok. Don't let me down. Let's see.
I always get that
that's
in
the Constitution.
The preamble. Yeah.
Yep. That's the Constitution. Nope, that's the Constitution, y'all. Nope. We the people is the Constitution. Nope, 407. That's the Gettysburg Address. It is a Dear John letter to England. It's not we the people. When in the course of human events.
Thank you. God damn it.
That's the beginning of the Declaration of Independence. So again, I'll just one more time, just listen to it one more time.
The Declaration of Independence.
What does it mean to you?
Well, it means exactly what it says. It's a declaration. It's a declaration of unity and love and respect, and it means a lot. And it's something very special to our country.
Okay, I think what I'm going to do now is do this, just because I think it's appropriate and I want to.
I love the fact that you just said, and I want to. That was fucking awesome.
In honor of our president.
You say the price of my love is not a price that you're willing to pay. You cry in your tea, which you hurl in the sea when you see me go by. Why so sad? Remember we made an arrangement when you went away. Now you're making me mad. Remember, despite our estrangement, I'm your man.
Everybody sing.
You'll be back, soon you'll see. You remember you belong to me. You'll be back, time will tell. You remember that I served you well. Oceans rise, empires fall. We have seen each other through it all. And when push comes to shove, I will send a fully armed battalion to remind you of my love. Da 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 ya da 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 ya da 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 ya da 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 da. You say our love is draining and you can't go on. You'll be the one complaining when I am gone. And no, don't change the subject, 'cause you're my favorite subject. My sweet, submissive subject. My loyal, royal subject. Forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. You'll be back like before. I will fight the fight and win the war. For your love, for your praise, and I'll love you till my dying days. When you're gone, I'll go mad. So don't throw away the sting we had. 'Cause when push comes to shove, I will kill your friends and family to remind you of my love. Da 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 ya da 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 ya da 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 ya da 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 da. Everybody. Da 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 ya da 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 ya da 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 da.
Okay, so King George didn't necessarily look at the Declaration of Independence as peace and love. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people, this was drafted in Congress July 4th, 1776. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among those these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate the governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shewn that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and is such now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former system of government. The history of the present King of Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of any absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let the facts be submitted to a candid world. Ladies and gentlemen, I remind you again, I just read the Declaration of Independence. This is what the president had to say about it.
Declaration of Independence.
What does it mean to you?
Well, it means exactly what it says. It's a declaration. It's a declaration of unity and love and respect, and it means a lot. And it's something very special to our country.
There you go.
Wow. Wow.
It's about unity and love? No, it's absolutely not. That is so fucking embarrassing. I can guarantee you something. What about Biden? Would know exactly what the Declaration of Independence was. I guarantee you that Barack Hussein Obama would know exactly what the Declaration of Independence was. I guarantee you George W. Bush would know exactly what the Declaration of Independence was. Right? But our president has no fucking clue. Apparently Mike Walls was just fired. Is that true?
What?
Somebody said the AP is reporting that he was just fired. I'm looking.
Yes, National Security Advisor Mike Walls to step down.
To step down. Let me
President
see.
Donald Trump, National Security Advisor Michael Walls, and one of his top deputies are stepping down, according to a report on CBS News. CBS said that Walls and his deputy Alex Wong will be leaving their posts. The report cited several people familiar with the matter. The White House didn't immediately respond. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
Okay, so remember how we talked about this before. So this is how this is going to go. I think Pete Hegseth is next. I think he's going to resign because exactly step down is not the same as fired.
Right.
Yep.
Pete will be Friday.
Pete will be what?
I think Pete will be Friday, so it's forgotten over the weekend news cycle.
Take it out the trash. Yeah. So again, think about this. Okay? We talked about this before because Trump has prided himself on only hiring the best. I've only got the best. I've got the best team. I've got the most amazing people with me. I've got everybody who is the best of the best of the best of the best. They fucked up big time. There's no way he can fire them because that would be acknowledging that he fucked up. So what's going to happen is Mike Walls is going to step down. Alex Wong, whose name was mentioned in the Signal chat as well. And that's it in an attempt to say, we're going to resign because the media is coming after us and we don't want to be a distraction for the president. So we'll take one for the team. And Pete Hegseth's going to do the exact same thing. And I just want to remind people of something. Hold on, if I can find it now, because this is really important. Boy, I love to have these things prepared, these clips prepared, because it just makes my job easy. Hang on one second. Let me just find this. Because when you ask Trump voters how they feel about the performance of the twice impeached, four-time indicted sexually abusing fraudster, convicted felon, they also include his cabinet. So here you go.
Yes.
So hang on one second. Let me play this for you.
100 days has been a breath of fresh air. I think that everybody's been waiting for change, no matter what party you are. Right. I feel that the change is undeniable. And so this is the first 100 days. I can't wait to see what the first 1,000 days.
What about the next 100 days?
The next 100 days are going to be exciting. Those trade talks. He's got 8 countries that are right on the line to get started, and I think it's going to be laying the groundwork to his point earlier that he's building the house, he's building the framework for what our future is. And as a mother of 3 children in this country, we're bringing it back to basics, and we're building from the bottom up.
Wrong sound, but anyway. There's numerous Trump supporters that say, oh, it's the best cabinet. He only hires the best people. So how do you explain it? How do you explain this one? I fucking told you guys this was going to happen. I knew it. I knew it was going to happen. I'm so glad it is. And again, this is careful. Keep your enemies close and your friends close, enemies closer. Hey, Dave, how are you?
Hey, I just I'm doing great. We're half a step removed from a recession. How you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, tiptoeing through the hellscape that is fascism.
Tiptoeing through the fiery tulips. That's right. Yeah, no.
Indeed.
For those of you who don't know, yesterday the first quarter came up. First quarter earnings, well, whatever. First quarter reports came out. Economy sank by 0.3%. That's the first quarter. Recession is officially 2 quarters of negative GDP growth. So halfway there. Yay, Trump. Interestingly enough, when they analyzed it, this is, I think this was The Economist, when it was analyzed, the economy was doing well except for the effects of the tariffs. Everything else was doing fine except for the effects of the tariffs. Also, because he announced his tariffs, a lot of product manufacturers bought up a shit ton of equipment, a shit ton of basically stuff,
inventory,
which actually increased which interestingly enough increased the deficit. How wonderful is that? So his little idea is actually moving everything backwards. But the best part of that was his announcement yesterday. It wasn't his fault. This is the Biden economy this quarter. And he said next quarter it will be as well.
Oh, yeah. We played that sound earlier. Yep. I agree. Yeah, so just a little bit more on this story. So this is reporting from Politico again.
That's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to tell you that. I got to drop, but I just wanted to
appreciate
tell
you, buddy.
That.
Thanks a lot, my guy. I appreciate you very much. Talk to you later. It's good to see David. It's been a while. So President Trump is planning on, this is a little different. Okay, so Trump is planning to oust National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, who has lost the confidence of the administration, according to the 3 people with the decision. Names for replacement have been discussed around the West Wing for weeks, but the plans to remove Waltz potentially as soon as this week gained steam in recent days, according to 2 of the people and another person close to the White House. So that's a little bit different than what I thought. He's actually going to fire him. So how do you explain it? What about Biden? How do you explain it? How do you explain this? How do you stand there? So if I'm in the press room and I have an opportunity to ask the president a question, this is what I would say. Mr. President, you're planning on firing Mike Waltz because of what you describe as losing confidence in him. You told the American people that you're only going to hire the best. So we're only 100 days into your administration. Are you realizing that perhaps you didn't hire the best? No, sir, I didn't ask you about Biden. I asked you about your hirings. I asked you about why you hired somebody that only in 100 days' time you've lost confidence in. Could it have anything to do with the fact that he shared classified information on a Signal chat? So then might I ask you the same question about Pete Hegseth? Do you also have no confidence in him? And when could we expect his termination? No, sir, it's not about President Biden. It's about the people that you chose, because you chose the American people. You told the American people that you only hire the best. So can you explain? Oh, I'm sorry. Is that Secret Service going to take me out of here? That's fine. Thank you. Appreciate that. Answer the damn question. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, well, you can't be fired if you resign, right? So I think what they're going to do is announce that they've been fired, but allow them to resign.
Yeah, but the question is, if the reporting is true that the administration has lost confidence.
which is bullshit.
So-
which it's like you called this, I don't know, must have been 4 or 5 weeks ago. This is the sacrificial lamb. This is and two individuals.
Damn, I hate it when I hate it when I'm right.
Dude, if you had called Ireland and laid a bet, you'd be freaking swimming in it. Yeah, talking about bring a gift to Erica, you would have brought all the gifts, baby.
All the gifts, exactly. What about all the gifts? Well, here we are, right? So here we are. So there's talk about Scott Bessent, who's the Treasury Secretary, about whether or not he's going to ride this out because his name is all over the tariffs now. His name is all over the new mineral deal that was signed with. He's the one that did the announcement. His name is all over all this kind of stuff. So how does he then go back to Wall Street and maintain the credibility that he once had, or is it too late for that? So I just want to close our Declaration of Independence conversation with the last paragraph. Okay? We therefore, the representatives of the United States of America in General Congress, assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do, in the name and by the authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these United States are and of right ought to be free and independent states, that are the absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and do all other acts and things which independent states may have a right to do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the production or protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. Declaration of Independence, not peace and love. Nope.
I mean, there is something to be said about peace and love.
Yeah,
as in, sure. I'm not signing any more autographs. Peace and love. Peace and love.
Yep. Agreed. And
I'm jealous of your soundboard, by the way.
Everybody's jealous
of my soundboard. Can we just for 2 seconds?
Mm-hmm.
The glee that we see on your face every time you activate certain buttons.
Sorry, I'm like a 12-year-old. I literally am like a 12-year-old in a 57-year-old man's body.
I listen.
I am. I totally am 12.
We need someone in the UK to literally follow you to the airport so that when you meet Erica, they can just push certain buttons and play things in the background. I'm this mini.
So this is a little bit more, this is interesting. The reporting, depending on, this is why it's important, guys, to get news from different sources, because what I just read from Politico says that the administration is going to replace him. CBS is saying that his deputy will leave their positions. Mike Wallace and his deputy will be leaving their posts in the Trump White House, according to multiple sources familiar with their departure. They are expected to leave today. The White House did not immediately respond to a request for comment. After Wallace admitted behind closed doors the authenticity of the reporting regarding Signalgate, White House officials debated whether he should resign. But Wallace never made the offer. Mr. Trump did not ask him to step down. Publicly, President Trump signaled his support for Wallace by calling him a good man who learned a lesson. So we'll see. I don't know. It's just interesting, right? Here we are. The economy's in shambles. It's going to get worse. Market contracted. Our economy contracted for the first time. So I want to talk about that for a second. There was reasons why the economy contracted in 2022. We were coming off of COVID. There was reasons behind that. Okay, there were reasons that happened. The entire world's economies were contracting. This is entirely self-inflicted. If I were advising the president, if I were sitting down in a room with him, if I were sitting down in a room and I would advise him, you got elected on your rhetoric. Leave it alone. Don't touch it. You want to tell people about the border? Fine. Don't touch the economy. Don't impose tariffs. Don't have Congress talking about cutting Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare. Don't do a damn thing. Ride it out, because right now the economy that we have is the best in the world of the G7 countries. Don't piss off our allies. Tell you what, Peepaw, just go play golf. It'll be totally fine. Just go play golf. And we wouldn't be talking about this right now. And he could stand there in front of the press every single day and say, you see what I did? See what I did? Yeah, ballistic podiatry, exactly. See what I did? Look how great the economy is. And you could tell your right-wing echo chambers that this is what we did. This is the Trump economy. Look at the record, because we were on that climb in the stock market. We're talking about 50,000. People are talking about 50,000. It broke records routinely under Joe Biden. He could have left it alone. Nope. Didn't have to piss off our allies. Didn't have to be talking about bullshit about Greenland. You know, you could have just said, you know, I'm putting pressure on both sides in Russia and Ukraine to end the war, and then, you know, just step away from it and go play golf, Peepaw, because you're doing that anyway. But nope. I'm going to step in. I'm going to tear up the Constitution. I'm going to lock up brown people. I'm going to tell members of LGBTQIA that you don't involve, that you're not here, that you're irrelevant. I'm going to erase history. I'm going to violate constitutional norms. You've created this. You're going to hire the best people, and now you're going to fire them because they're incompetent. Would have been simple. Would have been an easy conversation. Pay me my money. I'm out of here. Seriously. All he had to do was leave it the fuck alone. That's it. He could have taken credit for it. He could have been considered a great president in his own mind. The news would have talked about how great the economy's doing. The news would have talked about how vibrant the country is feeling. Sentiment is growing. MAGA could be cheering. See, we told you, we were right. You see that, how great the economy is now? And we could just sit back and be like, okay, whatever, dude. We know you didn't do it. But nope, can't do that. Would have been too simple. God damn.
He literally could have won re-election if he had just like not messed around. Right? Imagine much like
I've said this before.
He could have been an actual billionaire if he had just taken his dad's small $400 million donation and just stuck it in a mutual fund.
Oh, I've said this before. If he had been honest with the American people about COVID, he would have been reelected in a landslide. No doubt in my mind. And he could have come out and said, you know what? We are the United States of America. We are going to handle this the best of any country in the world. He could have made MAGA masks. He could have gone on the record saying it's incredibly important. Here, 2 for 1 BOGO for MAGA masks. He could have fucking owned it. He could have owned it, and he would have won in a landslide. No doubt in my mind, but he didn't do it.
And if he would have said,
take accountability, because he can't take accountability for his own failures.
If he would have said, I'd like to thank President Obama's team for leaving the guide. This is what really helped us. If he had been able to also show a little grace, it fucking over.
Yep. Right. Would have won in a landslide. Would have been close. Yep.
No, because all he had to do, to your point, is be gracious and play golf.
Exactly. That's it. So here's just a little reminder. Facts don't lie. In 2017, Trump inherited 75 consecutive months of economic growth. It took him less than 4 years to destroy that. Again, elected, inherited the strongest economy in the world in U.S. history, with the lowest unemployment rate in 50 years, the inflation rate at 2.5%, and the stock market increasing by 48% on average. And he destroyed it in 30 days. He's done it twice. He's done it twice.
Yeah.
In both examples, 75 consecutive months of growth coming off of Obama. All he had to do was leave it alone, but he can't because he's a racist bigot, and he didn't want Barack Obama to have credit for anything. Same thing with Joe Biden. Inherited a booming economy by all macro measures. Again, we could discuss kitchen table politics all day, and I agree. Prices were up. I understand that. I get it. But again, he could have just left his hands off of it, and we would not be talking about what we're talking about every single day.
Yep.
Self-inflicted. Ballistic podiatry. Ballistic podiatry. Hold on a second here. Okay. Good morning. Hail the Queen. Good morning, Queen. How are you?
I come in and I wait now because I know.
As you should.
I know.
You've got to have your. Everybody's got our own walk-up music. You've got yours.
It's ridiculously warm.
It's not here.
What does that mean?
Oh, by the way, Erica, I don't know if you noticed this, but yesterday after you guys were having the temperature conversation, Obi did the maths in the Discord.
Right.
To correct you because you were wrong, and Obi needed to prove it.
I just need to tell you.
Okay, I'm listening.
It is currently 28 degrees Celsius in a country that fundamentally disagrees with air conditioning. And I have spent the whole afternoon in a classroom with 30 teenage bodies that each have their own individual aroma. None of them pleasant. And they were complaining when they came into my room about how hot it was. And I have to be in there all day. They only have to be in there for an hour.
So I require room temperature with a dew point of around 68 degrees, with a slight breeze and low humidity.
You'll get what you're fucking given.
Damn.
But what I'm going to say is low humidity in this country in the summer is not a thing.
It's okay. I live in Vermont. I get it. By the way, did you happen to hear the conversation we were having regarding the Declaration of Independence?
I heard a bit of it.
As our president seems to think it is about peace and love.
I'm not sure that my country would agree.
Yeah, and then we played You'll Be Back. I'm sorry you missed it.
No, that's good. I popped into a store. Can I say not Gwen putting YGWYFG in the comments?
You get what you fucking get. Exactly.
Yeah.
So friends, again, if you would like to contribute to the Let's Get Erica an Elaborate Gift Fund, you can do so at FactsStillMatter, Venmo, PayPal, and Cash App. I appreciate you all. Yes. How are you? You feeling better?
I'm very proud of myself.
Okay.
I ate a proper lunch today, and I ate all of it. And I haven't eaten like a full grown-up size meal for about 6 months. So, you know.
Somebody is suggesting that my elaborate gift should be a window air conditioner.
They're not a thing. Our windows open outwards, so
They're
window air
casement
conditioner.
windows or whatever they are. Is that what they're called? Casement?
No, I don't have windows like that. Mine open outwards, so window air conditioners are not a possibility.
So you're missing out on American excellence there, Erica. Sorry to tell you.
For the entire 2 weeks a year when it's over 80 degrees Fahrenheit, I think I'll live.
Yeah, I agree. We don't need to complain. By the way, have you heard the latest about the National Security Advisor?
Which one's that again? Which one in
Mike
the cast of them? Okay, I equate them all to Muppets. So
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I'm just wondering which Muppet that is. But has he's been fired, resigned, something like that, I imagine.
Exactly. One of the two. Sacked, resigned, stepped down. But yeah, likely today. We might get an announcement on that as soon as today.
The only surprise is that it's taken this long.
Agreed. Then the question is how long until Pete Hegseth's done too. So yeah.
Well, what time's happy hour?
Oh well, you're already there. Almost.
Oh, well, that's true. Nearly. 40 minutes, 5 o'clock, yeah.
All right, while you're both here, I have a little bit more sound to play. As we know, the twice impeached, 4-time indicted, sexually abusing fraudster convicted felon has claimed that he is 6'3", 225 pounds. I'm 6'2", 227, 228. I feel like I look a little bit better than the president does. But this is what Caroline Levitt had to say when asked a question about his physical and whether or not we'll get a little bit more information from his doctors.
On presidential help, are there plans for the president's physician to come here and take our questions? And also, President Trump repeatedly makes remarks about the former president's health. Is he considering using his executive powers to bring any greater transparency there?
As I have said, the president is undergoing his long-scheduled physical. It's a yearly physical that every president receives, and we will provide an update on that by the president's physician as soon as we possibly can.
And about the former president and transparency regarding his health, are there...
Well, I can tell you there was certainly a lack of transparency from the former president, from the entire former administration, and frankly, a lot of people in this room when it came to the health and the competence of the former president of the United States, Joe Biden. There was one of the greatest cover-ups and frankly political scandals this nation has ever seen. It's been unraveled in some recent books that are being written by journalists who engaged in that cover-up and scandal, which is quite ironic. But this president is clearly committed to transparency. You in this room see him and hear from him on a daily basis. You in this room know from covering him, it's hard to keep up with him. He is a machine working around the clock every single day. And the physician, after today's physical, will provide an update on the report in the effort of transparency.
Nuh-uh. Listen, it's just because the president sits for interviews because he needs to have people stroke his ego, just because he wants the camera in his face all day long, just because he will invite reporters into the Oval Office, does not mean he's transparent. So I played that sound because that was before the physical. So have we heard from the doctor? Nope. All we saw was a statement. Nope. Haven't heard from the doctor. Nope. And we're not going to. Because he can't let the world know that he, in fact, is not 6'3", 225. I'd like to see the doctor questioned under oath because every single day, that's what they wanted from the Biden administration. They wanted Joe Biden's doctor to appear before Congress under oath and explain. Well, how come they're not asking for the same? Funny. So I did get a notification that Mike Walls has officially resigned. So he didn't get fired.
Yeah.
He resigned.
That makes more sense. That's how you do it, right?
Yep. To save face.
To save face. Also, if you resign, aka get fired, when you volunteer to do that, that also comes with most likely an immediate position within the next 30 to 60 days of your choosing, and then they show you a menu, right? One of the, I guarantee you, he ends up at some donor's company.
That's where he will end up. Lee, how are you this morning? Leanne. Leanne?
Oh.
Hello? Did not mean to request.
I didn't mean to do that.
That's okay. It's no problem, friend. I appreciate you. Have a good day. See you later. Hi. Something on your mind?
Oh, a lot. But one thing I haven't heard much talked about is that executive order he signed night before last, I believe, allowing the military to help police our streets.
Yeah, we talked about that yesterday. Pretty scary, right?
Yeah. Oh, that scares the hell out of me. It really does.
Should scare everybody. Yep. Should scare everyone. Yep.
I think that's the scariest thing he's done so far.
It's hard to tell these days, but it seems like one day after the next, it just gets scarier and scarier. Because again, we have to stop thinking that we're marching towards fascism. We're here.
We're here.
It's here. Yep.
Anyway, have a good day.
You too, Leanne. Thank you for being here, friend. I appreciate you very, very much. All right. See you later. Okay. Hazy. It is 10 and 7. You're right, Andy. Everyone keep tapping. We'll go until noon today. And then before I lose power, we'll probably cut a little bit earlier just in case they decide to turn the power off sooner. Hazy, how are you? Hazy? Are you there? I guess not.
I would think with Erica in the room, you have all the power you need.
Well, that is true. Just saying. So listen, I want to remind folks let me do a couple of programming notes first. Next week, 2 events that I want to focus on, and I shared this with Eric yesterday. I got a very sweet letter and a very sweet note from some followers who say they watch me every day. They're small business owners in Missouri, and they sent me this amazing signs that they make, and they sent me a bag of nuts, a couple of bags of nuts as well, and it was incredibly kind of them to do that. And the conversation, their followers, and they identify themselves as blue dots, tiny blue dots in red states, and we have a lot of that. And they connected with us because I was talking about doing a small business owners live. And it was right around the time of California, and then I got sick, so it couldn't happen. It's something I really want to do, and they reminded me of that. So we're going to do that next Friday. So there'll be plenty of opportunity to promote it. We'll talk about it. So if you have a small business and you want to use this platform for 4 hours for free publicity for your business, I would be honored to have that conversation with you. If you have a website and you would like me to help promote it, I'll be glad to put it in the link tree that's in my bio, because from my perspective, as a small business owner, Obi's a small business owner, I know that small business is what makes the economy of our country churn and hum. It is where the true entrepreneurial spirit comes from. So we're going to use our platform here next week to promote that. So that'll be next Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern time. Next Wednesday night, I am working with a few of creators who I've gained tremendous respect for, and I consider like TikTok friendship. I want to be highlighting the voices of Black creators because, as I've talked about before, much like it's all men until it's no men, it's all white people until it's no white people. So that'll be next Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time, right here. We'll be talking about that a bit more as well. We'll be promoting that as well, because with what we talked about this morning about how there's a lot of people out here who are taking advantage of a lot of different types of people, and depending on where you come from, you might feel like you're in a safe space based on people being of your own, so to speak. Well, we know that's not true. So that'll be next Wednesday night.
Talking about that earlier, regarding this online, I had like 10 and I just want to, this is all I want to say about that, is please watch people's reactions when someone takes issue with something they've said or done. Please just watch how they react. Are they open to criticism, or are they defensive and trying to put themselves in a situation where they look better? I will always be in the spaces that I frequent are always ones where people are open to criticism and open to learning. If you are in a space and the host of that space or the panel in that space are not open to hearing criticism and are not open to learning, then that may well not be a safe space to be.
Exactly. And I guess I think it's really maybe a good spot to kind of close the show here. Just got a little capitalism I'm going to deal with. We started the show today by talking about that. There's just a lot of drama in this space. It's like, it's the good and the bad. And Erica and I have talked about this many times, and Obi and I have talked about this many times. This platform has a lot of power. It depends on how you want to use it, because power also requires responsibility, depending on how you want to use it. I don't look at this as a platform of power. I just look at it as influence. And I take that really, really seriously, and I'll let my integrity speak for itself. There are people in this space, though, that will abuse it and have abused it. And let's be real. There are people that we know in this space that we have come to at least initially trust that are frauds and grifters and predators. Let's call it what it is. So I think the cautionary tale is ask questions. When you have people that you've come to trust and or rely on let you down, those things happen, sure. But where is your loyalty? Is your loyalty to them, or is it your loyalty to the causes that they claim to support? I'll say this, I am not the arbiter as to whether or not I'm a safe space. I'm not. I have to allow other people to tell me that. And if people tell me that, and people do, I take that responsibility very seriously, perhaps too seriously, which has impacted my mental health over time, right? But again, when you put your faith in someone and you trust them, and then they ask you to participate in something, only to find out that they are frauds or grifters, then it's a bitter pill to swallow. Men are not safe for women, by and large. Not true. I mean, they're not safe. Okay. White people, by and large, are not safe spaces for members of the BIPOC community, in particular, black women and black men. Black women in particular, not safe. Just keep that in mind as you're cruising the TikTok streets, okay, and whatever social spaces that you're in. Go ahead, Obi. You want to say something?
No.
Okay.
No. Sorry.
All right. So I think we'll wrap there. Erica, any final thoughts?
Just one more thing on this subject. If you're not involved in something and you don't know enough about it to speak on it with knowledge and authority, don't speak on it. Don't talk. If it's not your story to tell and you don't have the permission of the person whose story it is and you don't know enough about it, don't frickin' talk about it. Don't make yourself out to be an authority. We all want to defend our friends when they've got themselves in a sticky wicket, as we would call it here in a cricket metaphor. We all want to defend our friends. But we also have to understand that our friends are not necessarily in the right every time.
Exactly.
So if you don't know enough about it and you're not involved and you're not an authority on it, shut the fuck up.
Well said. Before I go to Obi, Bamquisha, I saw that you had requested. What's on your mind, friend?
Good day. I just wanted to reach out and ask you, and not be too creepy about it, but I sent you a message on the DMs and TikTok, and I was wondering if you had a moment to listen to the song that I asked if you could take a listen to. Not that you need to do it right now, but at some point when you get a chance, I'd be really interested in hearing your feedback on it.
Oh, I will. I remember. I get a lot of DMs. I'm really, really sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
Absolutely take care of that. Sure. I'll be happy to do that. Thank you for the
And
reminder.
that's all I wanted to ask. I didn't want to be creepy. In the chat, but that's all I wanted to know. And just again, thank you for everything that you on the dot, ready to listen. You do. So thank you.